All right. It's 6. So much for being early. So much for that idea. It never really works out the way I want it to. Here I go, trying to figure out Instagram again.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl. I'm coming through.
Hold on, y'all know it's the struggle bus for me.
What's up?
Oh, let's go live. Y'all hear all that noise? I got my window open. Where's Robo Bear? Y'all ain't here? That's what's up. That's what's up. Let me get my Instagram. I'm always struggle bus with the grain. And then I'm about to come through. Okay. I'm live for the people. Okay. So y'all, first, what's up? Shout out to Robo Bear. Shout out to the new person. Ooh, nails look cute. Okay, so let's get into the action. So you know my intros vary. Initially, I wanted to get into um some of the things that I skimmed through in the chapter because on chapter 8 in medical apartheid, we're going into eugenics, the eugenic control of African American reproduction, right? This is ill though. Check your follow me, right? So I was going to get into Margaret Sanger and the story of Fannie Lou Hamer or Hamer, yeah, and Hillary Clinton and all these ill people. I'm chilling at work, watching my little shows in between time, seeing what's going on a little bit. I'm still a little detached. As I told y'all a couple days ago, I run across an update via Sean Davy Way. Excuse my rude ass neighbors. They don't have etiquette. They just beeping in my background, but don't worry, I'll be in the burb soon. Okay. But I ran across an update regarding Malaya's health, okay? And come to find out, it is not so hot. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, y'all on the ground. Come to YouTube. I need my phone. See you in a minute. Peace. Okay, so that video could wait. I'm gonna show y'all. Shout out to moi. Okay, shout out to me one time because I told y'all fools that something was gonna happen. And look, I'm gonna play the clip for you. I told y'all. I told you. I told you. What's that movie? Friday. Y'all know. Okay, hold on. I'm pulling up. I'm queuing
It's
up.
about you not having your parents in your life. You need
Reading
to sort out
Nature
your
Boy.
sexuality because I heard you fucking the niggas too, and all just fucking on each other and living off donations. Y'all motherfuckers need to get some counseling and get you some motherfucking hustles. Straight up. Because you're too grown for that shit. And something's gonna happen. And it is what it is. Like, I just say what I see. What I see is them kids gonna get snatched up. Somebody's family gonna pull up, and it's about to be on. His shit, all that bullshit about to come to an end. And I'm gonna be right here on YouTube, like I told you, I'm gonna put a flashback on my own goddamn self, and something's gonna happen. Something's gonna happen. Something really bad is gonna happen. It's just a stew of bullshit. That shit is brewing. It's brewing in the air. I can see it. I can see it. I can see it. Now, let's get back to the fight. The reason why they was fighting is because
they was fighting over his dirty ass dick. That's what they was fighting about. Anyway, I got into that, right? So shout out to kudos to you, bitch, right? Because I told y'all it's a stew of bullshit. I knew something was gonna happen, but I listen with what I see now. So Malaya, they're hollering she's in hospice, which that hasn't been confirmed. Allegedly, she got fluid around her heart. Okay, this is a young 20-something-year-old girl. She's young. She's a young Black girl. She's real little. You know what I'm saying? Real petite. And she got fluid around her heart. she got an infection in her stomach. Okay. And we know this nigga like to do it in the butt. So we ain't gonna, play games about that. You know how he get down. I done showed y'all the porno. I mean, well, I couldn't show y'all the porno, but I showed y'all what it looked like in case you wanted to look for yourself. Because I watched and I saw. So it's not hard to find. It's just not. But what I could read from his, and that was 4 months ago. What I could read from this, I'm sorry to say, like there's a part of me that's hopeful for her, and if you want like the scoop, do the TT, watch Sean Davy Ways. Um, he's just got his foot on his neck. Watch Sean Davy Ways video, okay? He could go into details because you know me, I don't go into all that unless it's some other shit like the medical apartheid. We dissect other shit. This kind of shit, you can read it for face value and pretty much. I mean, if you're able to see, if you just take all that bullshit, you're gonna be able to see that it's not gonna pan out well at all. And look at her, this 20-something-year-old girl, all in the name of Stockholm syndrome, because we can't call it love. You know what I'm saying? Is sitting in the hospital with fluid around her heart. They haven't really came out with none. Her sister, um, let me get this video here. Her sister was talking about how she was just so damaged and messed up. I'm gonna play a little bit of it.
I want to say yes, past.
Hold on.
He don't care about.
This ain't it. Hold on. There it is.
Always on his panel. Always letting him get away with any kind of trauma. What trauma have you gone through over there other than someone putting their hands on you? I've never seen a car accident where they're like, oh my gosh, she's been in a car accident
This her
that
sister.
could have caused any kind of trauma. So what happened to your body for the doctor to say, oh well, yeah, some of this is trauma related. Okay, so what trauma? It can't just happen in your mind. It cannot just happen in your mind.
Because they like to say your disease and your illness all stems from your mind, which is partially true, right? But don't use real life knowledge for people who is really looking to seek to heal themselves, using vibrations and using herbs and using shit like that, and then sitting up there and acting as your way to abuse somebody. That's fucked up, and that's why she's fucked up. Organs is shifted and shit like that, but she got infections and all kinds of shit.
Well, her real name is Tanisha. She knows exactly what happened to her.
This is shout out to what is this girl's name? I just wanted to run that quick little clip. Spicy topic. I wanted to run that clip because we get into some more important shit. But I thought it was fair to give you an update. I know I'm kind of rambling, but this is what I'm saying because I feel something. Just like I felt when I talked about it the first time and when I did the update. I just feel something and I feel like it's not going to be good. I want to have a little ray of hope, but I just don't like that. I just really don't. And I know I sound bad, but my intuition is good. It's heavy. Just like I rolled that fucking flashback of my own video from 4 months ago saying that something bad is going to happen. Here we are, 4 months later, something bad is happening, right? And I don't want to, toot my own little horn or whatnot, but I'm right. And I know I'm going to be right about this. It's not going to pan out good. It's just not. And then with her wanting to go back to him, to a place where they're not seeking any real professional medical help, like I'm all for the natural way of living, not eating no meat, trying to go vegan, trying to get clean. You know what I'm saying? I mean, by all means, this is real talking healthy food, right? Okay. So of course I'm all for that. But with her health condition, I don't think it's conducive to her healing to be going back to a nigga who's gonna be putting hands on you. And if she do go back, well, she's finding a way to go back because this fool keep going live with her. You know what I'm saying? And trying to woo her and swoon her into going back, and she's falling for the bullshit. And that's some bullshit. And I think I just, I want to have hope for her, but I just don't have no hope for her. They're hollering, it's swarming around in the streets that she's in hospice. So it's like this her sister said, I just played the clip. Her organs were shifted. They don't even see this shit happening in car accidents. You know what I'm saying? So like, come on, like, where her mind is and where her body is and where she about to go, I don't think it's just. I just, I don't got no hope for her, flat out. And I'm gonna just keep it a buck. Not only that, but the T is he done made her get some $30,000 loan. Okay, so not only did he cause her illness along with her um along with her bad decisions, but not only is she sick, she's in debt now. So even if you do get on debt, you're gonna be in debt. So it's like, what the fuck is this? You know what I'm saying? Let me cover this up because I don't even want to look because it's so distracting. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. What I'm feeling is this. Maybe, niggas is going to be mad at what I got to say about it. But what I'm saying is, I don't think it's going to pan out good. I think she's too far gone. And I don't think she got the dust or the color like that to be, to get the kind of care that she deserves and needs. And with her mental state and with how she's just stuck on that nigga, it's not gonna pan out good. And I don't give a fuck what nobody said. And I've my heart breaks for her. I'm super sad for her. I really am. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was gonna be on here like, ha ha, like, but no, I'm on here like, damn, boo hoo, like, bitch, your shit is fucked. You know what I'm saying? And then I don't know. I just don't see it panning out good. Like my what I feel is not gonna be good. Period. And I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? But I'll be back on here with the update because I see doom. And that's what I see. And I'm sorry. That's just what I see. And that's it. I don't see no, I hope, and I put my prayers up for her already, but with that whole situation, it's just real gross. I would be surprised if she had some ill shit going on, some other. She has multiple things going on, infections, fluids on her heart. I heard something about her kidneys, like just overall, just bad. You know what I'm saying? And so I'll put the prayers up, but my spirit is letting me know it's not looking good. And that might have been the dream a bitch had the other night, but it's not looking good. Anyway, let's move on to Velvet right quick. Velvet hollering about she's gonna get with the YouTubers that's talking shit. I think that this is what I think about that. I think she's just popping off because you came from a domestic violence ass situation. We're just gonna put regular law terms on it, like, or whatever. Domestic violence situation, right? That's what you're coming from. You're just now getting the power back into your life. Okay. So you're popping off because you're feeling strong. That's good. But when you was with that man, you chose to put your life on blast. So you're gonna have to take that good with the bad. There's a whole lot of people that's showing you love. I would focus on that. And it sounds like you're a low-key knowledgeable girl. So I feel like you should take that information and teach the people the good shit. You know what I'm saying? It's your job to do that. It's my job to do that. It's our job to do that shit. You know what I'm saying? Especially when it's in you and it's not on you. You know what I'm saying? I think you got a lot of healing to do. Your story could help other ladies. You know what I'm saying? Y'all situation is a whole warning to other chicks. The importance of practicing safe sex, the importance of um practicing celibacy. You know what I'm saying? The reasons why you don't, you try your best, your very best, to not transfer, though, that that soul tie is ill. Like that soul ties are so deep. I'm telling you, like soul ties are so heavy. Like you could transfer demons, you know what I'm saying, through your sexual encounters. And I know that for real as a fact. You know what I'm saying? So I think with her working on her healing, we're gonna see her pop off in different ways. But I feel like you wasting your time coming after YouTubers because of your bad decisions, because you're gonna have to take accountability for that. I was in a bad situation with a nigga that had me on some ill shit. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you gotta take accountability for what the fuck you was doing. You chose that shit. You chose to be on deck. You was riding. You went live. And then when you was finally done with the bullshit, wasn't nothing on earth gonna fucking make you fucking get up and leave. Period. You know what I'm saying? When you're in a domestic violence relationship, it's one of those things. Either you're gonna survive or you're not, or you're gonna be fucked up. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying? And luckily, she just needs to be grateful that she was able to get out alive. A lot of women don't make it out alive. Rest in peace to my best friend. She didn't make it out alive. That's how she got murdered, nigga. You know what I'm saying? By her own nigga. You know what I'm saying? Her own nigga, the nigga that she loved, who loved her. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like, you know, sometimes it just ends up being too late. You know what I'm saying? And it's just so heartbreakingly sad that a woman inside, that's why I said on the last video, a woman inside could be so broken, a man inside could be so broken that he can inflict that amount of pain on somebody, and she takes that shit in, and it, oh my god, I feel like it's just deeper than just a nigga putting hands on you. You are not a chick that's not who's all the way up to par, like didn't have all that ill shit going on in her life. She's not gonna, there's something inside of you that attracts that shit. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta work on you. It's gotta be something in you where you say, I'm not gonna fucking deal with that. Period. And once you got your mind made up, there's not gonna be another motherfucker who you run across who's gonna change your mind. You know what I'm saying? Once you're tired, you're fucking tired. And some people gotta get fucking beat to death. And I hate to say it like that, but it's true. You know what I'm saying? Because some women can leave and some women just can't. You know what I mean? And I hope Velvet well on her journey. But I think you chasing after YouTubers, you getting mad at niggas making content about your life is a waste of time. You need to be focused on counseling. However, you seek that for you. You need to put in work with yourself. You got a baby girl that you gotta focus on that you had with this ill ass nigga, and your shit was on blast. You need to focus on your internal healing so you can stand strong when motherfuckers is coming at you. Motherfuckers come at me about my sorted ass past, and I put in fucking work. You know what I'm saying? So it ain't nothing that a motherfucker can say to me about my shit. You know what I'm saying? Because I stand in my shit and I don't give a fuck. You can say whatever. And then you can just be ready for, because I got a mouth on me. So it goes a mile a minute. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just saying, I stand in my shit. Ain't a motherfucker gonna make me feel no kind of way about my decisions. And that's the work that you gotta put in so you could realize the lessons in your life if you are able to have that opportunity again, that second chance again, because it looks like Malia ain't gonna get that second chance because she's laid up in hospice somewhere, allegedly in hospice with fluid on her heart, her kidneys shutting down for infections in her coochie. You know what I'm saying? ill fucking ill. She's fucking this nigga is fucking all the bitches and allegedly niggas and fucking you raw, busting in you. All his ill shit in him is in you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. It's just a toxic ass, nasty ass fucking soul tie that she's and that's why I feel like it's no fucking hope. And I'm sorry to say it. And if I hope I'm wrong, but I was right the last time, and I feel in my soul I'm right this time because it came to me. I watched that video, but that feeling came from me, came out of that to me. You know what I'm saying? Because there's no way under the sun that you could not like not be washing no ass, not be using no soap. You're using the bathroom. You women have menstrual cycles and all that shit. You in the woods. You got like bugs and all that ill shit. Probably open wounds from like walking and getting scraped up and shit, and then you're doing it with all these people. There's no fucking way. Like, get out of here. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. Like, that's and I feel so like bad for her. Like, here it is, this young girl, but somebody in her family or some video said that she used to be a hoe or something like that. I don't know what one got to do with the other. I don't know. I mean, I wish I knew like her family history. Like, I wish I knew a little bit more, or maybe it's not my place, but I feel like it's going to end tragically. I really do. And I feel like it's going to end like just kids is going to be separated, niggas is going to get locked, other bitches is going to be popping up sick. You know, I think if somebody kicks the bucket, I think that's gonna be the light that gets shined on it. I think that's in in my what's coming to me. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's it because it's just bad. It feels like it's just still brewing. You know what I'm saying? It feels like it's just still brewing because he went from being this this extra spiritual guy and whoop in school, right? To now, oh yeah, I'm a pimp. Yeah, I'm a pimp. Like, how the fuck? Who the fuck? You know what I'm saying? What the fuck part of the game is that? What part of the not watching your ass and I mean, what's pimpish about that, bro? Like, I don't the fuck. So I feel like he's a whole evil ass demon. I feel like something happened out in them woods that he wasn't ready for, and something jumped in. Something jumped in and took over. It's something. It's something that they conjured up. I think they was fucking with some shit that they wasn't ready for, and they was calling all the wrong things. Because one minute you're Pan African, the next minute you're walking around in Indian garb. So I think they're channeling and conjuring up all kinds of fucking spirits. I do. And I think that's why he flips so much on the camera. I really do. I feel like that's why you see him changing up because he just changes up in the sentence and lying comes out of his mouth like breathing, you know. And we can't put it all on them because at the end of the day, there's grown women and there's a new bitch that just pulled up now. They got new bitches still coming up in there. And I think that somebody young is gonna have to go for these bitches to get it. For them for people to go, oh nah, nigga, we can't be fucking with you. The older lady dying wasn't enough of a sign. The older lady dying out there wasn't enough of a sign for them. They probably like, oh yeah, we don't give a fuck. But when this young girl kicked the bucket, and I hope somebody gets the rights over her so they can expose what the fuck it is that she was exposed to, so we could keep our young black girls on that and seeing how some of these niggas use this woke shit as a means to get to you. You see what I'm saying? These niggas will use this ill shit. Oh yeah, the quasars and all this ill shit, and they know all the ancestors' names by heart. They know how they be burning sage and some more shit, but because they ain't really dope, they're not really dealing with what's really going on. Honestly, with them, they conjuring up some other shit that you not even ready for. Are you really for the shit? You really positive out this motherfucker? But now you're around this weirdo. Your demons is interacting through sex, and he's transferring all that shit into you. Not only that, but the real life disease, the real life infections. And you're not washing your ass. So I don't know. I'm about to be off it. Velvet, don't be wasting your time on this shit. Live and learn. Malia, I hope for the best, but I feel like we about to see you at the crossroads. And I'm sorry, I just do. I don't want to, but I just feel it. That's it. So let's get into this book, okay? So let's get into the medical apartheid one time, okay? Because I'm off that. He ain't about to be sucking my energy dry. You feel what I'm saying? He ain't about to be doing that shit. Because every time I talk about that motherfucker, I don't know. It's just so dark. It's really dark. It's I feel dark. I feel heavy. You know what I'm saying? I feel heavy on the inside. Like he's just a dark, horrible force with badass, horrible, terrible ass energy attached to him. Something he conjured up something, and I don't give a fuck what nobody said. And when he drink, it's worse. He conjured up something. He wasn't ready for it, and I don't know. It's that in a mix with some other shit with his other long list of problems. So I don't know. I might sound crazy to some, and some people gonna really get it. Those who's really tapped in feel what I'm saying, and I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Period. Like for real. It ain't just about. And I'm gonna say this last thing before I get off here, off this subject. This one I'm gonna say. It's one thing to be into some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like some BDSM shit where you're really channeling that dominant, sadistic energy in a healthy way. You know what I'm saying? Where you're not violating somebody's boundaries. You know what I'm saying? But it's another thing when you just can't control yourself and you putting hands on motherfuckers and you manipulating them into some ill shit. There's mad bitches out here. But see, but it's not healthy. It's not healthy. That situation is not a healthy exchange. You feel what I'm saying? Like when you're really into the shit and you're a dominant, you got submissive women or slaves or this and that. I'm using terminology from that if you don't know. But if you got that going on, whoever's in control is going to ensure that everybody is taken care of and well fed and not malnourished and got fluid around their heart and getting beat the fuck up for nothing. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm tripping. But I'm just saying, it's just not a healthy situation. And, you know, I just gotta let that go. And that's that. Let's get into the eugenics. And then it's just so sad. It's so sad how we're about to get into eugenics and how we're about to discuss how science and medicine was used racially because these so-called doctors and these so-called scientists would make shit up and use different diseases, inject us with shit, and then use that as a way to try to eradicate the black race completely. That's what we're literally about to get into. And here goes this bum ass nigga manipulating these young girls, trying to use knowledge, trying to use the shit that we actually got to deal with as his means to abuse them. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. So let's talk about Fannie Lou Hamer. What happened to her? I'm not into the book yet. But I was brushing up on my eugenics knowledge, okay, while I was at lunch and just trying to, I read some stuff about Margaret Sanger again. I watched some videos about her. Then I watched some videos and I heard about Fannie Lou Hamer. There's this other lady out in North Carolina who had similar stories, um, who had a similar story to her. She went and had her baby. This is what happened to Fanny. She went and had her baby. Um, and when she came from delivering, she had bandages around her stomach. And what ended up happening is they gave her a full ass hysterectomy, which means they took all her reproductive organs out of her without her consent. She ended up fighting against this, but when I was looking at videos and stuff, it looks like they hyped up more of her fighting for the right to vote, which I found kind of interesting. The focus wasn't really to me on the trauma that she went through. Like, you went to give birth to your child and you come back and all those organs are gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's so fucked up. There was another lady, the same thing happened to her. As a matter of fact, they started something like a coalition together where they were fighting against this. I think this was in North Carolina. I'm sure it's probably going to end up being in this book. Um, but I that's kind of what we're going to get into there. And then like Margaret Sanger, I don't know if she's going to touch on that or not, but I think that where am I going with this? This is where I'm going with it. It's just, I don't know. I feel super disheartened because this is supposed to be like Women's Month or whatever. And I just feel like, in the spirit of Women's Month, I want to talk about the shit that Black women go through. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I just wanted to touch on that because even taking it back to Malia, like they didn't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck because she's Black. They don't give a fuck because it's Black kids. And they didn't give a fuck about Fanny because she was Black. And there's so many stories about women. Like, that's why they have that birth control. That's why they put the shit in the food, shit in the air, shit in the water. They have what we've been reading in the last chapters too, where they digging up bodies from graves. You don't think if a motherfucker came in there for some surgery, they're doing some old other shit on you? I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling. I feel like I want to make a point, but I'm not making it. But with the Margaret Sanger shit, like, I think what my point is I'm trying to make is this shit is generational than a motherfucker, is what I'm starting to realize the more I kick it here with y'all. This shit is generational than a motherfucker. From Dr. Miriam, who did all those surgeries, those gynecological surgeries, and now he's in the American Medical Association. They got uh, portraits painted of him and shit like that. Meanwhile, these Black women had to be mutilated behind that science. You know what I'm saying? And then here we go into like these eras in the 20s where they're taking people off the street, people just coming up missing, labeling them as Jane Does and shit, you know, and the shit's going on to this day. Like when we was talking about the syphilis, the Tuskegee Airmen, this shit happened in the fucking 40s. They didn't get no real action until Bill Clinton was in office. And by that time, this nigga implemented the three strikes and you're out. And now my generation, especially the Black women, are feeling the effects of that. Because you know how if you live around the way in the hood, it'd be like the real niggas is dead or in jail. No, that's fucking facts. That's fucking facts. They're really dead or in jail, mostly because of the three strikes and you're out. Mostly because, crack epidemic, mostly because fucking um stop and frisk, mostly because we're just black out this bitch. And I don't know. Let's get into the fucking book. I don't know. I just feel some kind of way. I feel some kind of way. Maybe reading this chapter 8 will help me try to figure out what I'm trying to say. But it just seems like it's ongoing. It feels like it's never stopping. And I feel like with this COVID shit, it's another thing. I think it's just another eugenicist experiment, because it went from being this whole big thing to now black folks being the main victims of this shit, based off of pre-existing conditions. Let's get into it. The Black Stork, the eugenic control of African American reproduction. This is a quote from Barbara Harris, founder of Children Requiring, a caring community. Oh, crack. This must be from a book, 1990. We don't allow dogs to breed. We spay them. We neuter them. We try to keep them from having unwanted puppies. And yet these women are literally having litters of children. And then Rudolf Hess, Berlin in 1934, National Socialism is nothing but applied biology. She might easily have endured the life of a quiet desperation dictated by her birth, then vanished without a ripple. The granddaughter of a slave, the daughter of sharecroppers, and younger sister to 19 siblings. She was intelligent, hardworking, and loved to read, but she was also dark skinned, uneducated, and a woman, a recipe for failure in rural Mississippi. The year was 1961, but it might as well have been 1861. Case in point, she helped her family a hard scrabble existence on a plantation in Sunflower County by picking 300 to 400 pounds of cotton a day for $1 a hundredweight. They spent their days exhausted, hungry, and shabbily garbed, but her family never earned enough to break the cycle of debt and remained trapped in the unserious latter-day slavery called sharecropping. But she was not angry. A deeply religious person, she focused her energies on helping others and eagerly awaited the day she could have her own family. Her name was Fannie Lou Hamer. One day in 1961, Hamer entered the hospital to have a knot on my stomach. Damn, here it is. We talking about Fannie Lou Hamer, and I was just talking about her. I told y'all, I'm good. I don't care what nobody said. I'm good. I might be a little fumbly with my words sometimes, but I'm fucking good. I don't give a fuck. One day in 1961, Hamer entered the hospital to have a knot on my stomach, probably a benign uterine fibroid tumor removed. She then returned to her family's shack on a plantation to recuperate. But in the big house, ominous tidings circulated. The owner's wife, Vera Alicia Marlowe, was a cousin of the surgeon. Taco, stop. He's on his Panther shit. Was a cousin of the surgeon who had treated Hamer. Marlowe gossiped to the cook that Hamer had lost more than a tumor while unconscious. The surgeon had removed her uterus. Oh, so she didn't have a baby. Okay, I'm not that good. Um, the surgeon had removed her uterus, rendering Hamer sterile. The cook repeated the news to others, including a woman who happened to be Hamer's cousin, and thus Hamer was the last people on the plantation to learn she would never have a family of her own. Damn. Hey, Lisa girl. Sorry, y'all. I went to the doctor who did that to me and asked why. Why had he done that to me? He didn't have to say nothing, and he didn't. If he was going to give that sort of operation, then he should have told me. I would have loved to have children. But a lawsuit was out of the question. Hamer recalled, at that time, me getting a white lawyer against a white doctor, I would have been taking my hands and scoring tacks in my casket. Wow, that's fucking ill. A rage seized her, and she complained bitterly about her fate. But she also grew fascinated by political power as a means to redress injustice. And soon she did the unthinkable. She tried to register to vote, but she was rejected at the polling booth when she arrived home. The angry owner threw her off the plantation where she had lived for 19 years. It didn't matter because Hamer was no longer a sharecropper. She was now an uncompromising political dynamo who could become one of the most powerful leaders and symbols of the Southern rights movement. She always spoke of her Mississippi epi- appendectomy as the galvanizing force that propelled her into national leadership role, and she always spoke regretfully of the children she would never have. She was a lifelong opponent of birth control because she didn't have a choice. She didn't have a choice. They literally took her fucking choice away from her. Um, the 20th century saw the dawn of the medical philosophy eugenics, derived from the Greek word eugenes, meaning well-born. The word was coined by Francis Galton, a cousin of Charles Darwin. Between 1900 and 1910, genetics discovered human traits that adhered to a median pattern of inheritance, one in which the breeding of two carrier parents resulted in a mathematically predictable mixture of well, ill, and carrier offspring. Several metabolic conditions were among Mendelian discoveries, including sickle cell anemia, red-green color blindness, and polydactyly, having more than one unaffected parents, signaled that the parents were carriers. Armed with this knowledge, Galton first formulated the desirability of using selective procreation to refine the human race while conquering social dysfunction. This goal was widely embraced on both scientific and popular levels by the 1990s, not only in the United States, but also abroad. And eugenic yardsticks were applied to not only populations, but to individuals. Eugenicists proposed that the society use who me? Oh, hold on 1 second, y'all. All right, sorry, y'all. Okay, I'm back. Okay, where we at? The 20th century. We talking about Charles Darwin and Francis Galton. What did? No. I ain't gonna talk about it. I'm gonna wait till I read this one. Okay. We're going to talk about effective parenting. Okay, armed with this knowledge, Galton first formulated the desirability of using selective procreation to refine the human race while conquering social dysfunction. The goal was widely embraced on both scientific and popular levels by the 1930s, not only in the United States but also abroad. And eugenic yardsticks were applied to not only populations but to individuals. Eugenicists proposed that society use medical information about the disease and trait inheritance to end social ills by encouraging both the children with both good, healthy, and beautiful traits. Did y'all know? Okay, that's what I wanted to say. When they had the Holocaust and everything, right? When all that ended, and I think America kicked somebody's ass in that war, what they did during that time is our government took those scientists and brought them to America, and they did a lot of experiments on like the downtrodden, like the homeless, people in jail, especially black folks, people in jail, people in the mental hospitals and stuff like that. They would do experiments on them. They took them straight from their country and brought them here. So a lot of those ideals in regards to some sciences and medical procedures, they got it from them. What was I going to say? Beautiful traits. This was positive eugenics, but the movement also had a negative face. Eugenicists promulgated the weeding out of the undesirable societal elements by discouraging or preventing the birth of children with bad genetic profiles. What was that at? The term well born was a double meaning of born healthy and born wealthy. And this is fitting because eugenic scientists and their disciples constantly confuse the concepts of biological hereditary fitness with those class and race. So just like when Hitler was on everybody's ass and shit, if you didn't have blonde hair, blue eyes, and looked a certain kind of way, they would off you. So they applied that shit here, especially with us. If you was like slow, if you was like retarded or like shit like that, then you wasn't undesirable. Highly educated persons of good social class were considered eugenically superior. The poor, the uneducated, criminals, recent immigrants, blacks, and the feeble minded were eugenic misfits. Eugenicists invoked the term racial hygiene as frequently as they did the word eugenics, and even a cursory glance at the charts, photographs, and diagrams used to popularize eugenic ideals reveals that the unfit were swarthy, black, and ugly by Anglo-Saxon standards, with flattened noses, wiry hair, and how do you say that? Prognathous profiles. But did she just roast them scientifically? She called them Anglo-Saxon. Uh, with okay, anyway, African that am I getting my little science all mixed up? I think I am. African Americans were roundly disparaged by eugenic theory as scientists continued to seek and find wide physiologic evidence of black inferiority. In a refinement of early scientific racism, eugenics was appropriated to label black women as sexually indiscriminate and as bad mothers who were constrained by biology to give birth to defective children. The demonization of black parents, particularly mothers, as medically and behaviorally unfit has a long history, but 20th century eugenics provide the necessary biological underpinnings to scientifically validate these beliefs. The sexual irrepressibility and the bad mothering were biologically located in the hereditary apparatus, they contended. The eugenics undergirded uh, metasocial movements that placed the sexual behavior and reproduction of blacks under strict scrutiny and disproportionately forced them into sterility, both temporary and permanent. Scientists also vigorously researched Black fertility, compiling data on Black birth rates and using women of color predominantly to test many productive technologies and strategies from involuntarily involuntary sterilization to Norplant to the shot. Wow. So they would set them up. They set them up like they set the dudes up when they were squeezing them up with syphilis. They sat up there and act like they was helping them out and they was just giving them vitamins. Meanwhile, they was squeezing them up with some milk shit. um in 1915, Dr. Harry J. I hate their names. Hazelden heralded the first wave of U.S. eugenics when he gained fame and wealth by exploiting the evil legacy of the Black mother. Hazelden was famous in his time as Dr. Jack Kevorkian was in Our Own, and for an eerily similar reason. Both hastened the death. I'm sorry, y'all, for some I can't see today. Both hastened the death of those they perceived as unfit for life, and both chose their victims from the poles of life. Kevorkian preyed upon old or ill, Hazelden on sick, defective infants. On November 12, 1915, he announced to newspapers that he had allowed the ailing but viable newborn of his patient, Anna Bollinger, to die in Chicago's German American hospital because he would have gone through life as a defective. Between 1915 and 1918, Hazelden killed 5 other babies, drawing fawning attention from the press each time. Practicing negative eugenics very publicly, Hazelden encouraged parents and other pediatricians to follow his example by killing or allowing the deaths of the genetically inferior. Parents began openly to recruit doctors to kill their children who were born with birth defects, and doctors came forward with their own proud confession of infanticide. Like Kevorkian, Hazel then arranged photo ops with his dying patients and their mothers. Not only is the men weirdos, the wives are weirdos too. See, you gotta watch the Karens, the Gertrudes in this case, because it's back in the day. We gotta watch the Gertrudes in this case. We gotta watch the Karens, the Gertrudes, and the Barbaras. Um, when he decided to make a film to popularize his eugenic ideals starring himself, it became a hit, making him a wealthy movie star. That film was The Black Stork. Ooh, let me write that down. The Black Stork, y'all. We got to watch that so we could be hit. And this is white and black folks. So if they doing the white folks greasy, you know they doing us grease ball. So he made a movie about it called The Black Stork. It begins with the story of a white wealthy, well-born slave owner who, in the moment of inebriation, is seduced by his vile, filthy black servant, bitch. Okay. But we know, okay, let me stop. The resulting child supplies a genetic taint to his family that haunts his progeny, making them unfit to marry. One scene showcases a panoply, a, a panoply, a panoply. I think that's what it is. I don't know what that word means. Taco, stop it. I think it's panoply. Let's see what that means. A complete or impressive collection of things.
Panoply.
Panoply. Okay. Why is she so extra? Why couldn't she just say a whole lot of stuff? What the hell is it? Weird ass word. Okay, I'm petty. Wealthy. The resulting project making them unfit to marry one showcases a panoply of defective children, and the very first image is that of a black child. In titling the film, Hazelden was mindful of both the negative and the racial connotations of the word black. Martin Pernick, PhD, the premier expert on Hazelden and his work, points out that Hazelden repeatedly equated black with ugliness or undesirability. The fact that her white master, but not she, must be addled by drink before they have sexual congress speaks to the black woman's innate shamelessness. Hold on. Oh, they trying to say, oh, well, he had to get fucked up to sleep with her. Now we know them white boys was sneaking. Listen, I got a whole slew of white boys on this thing that I be on. I say I want to be with a black dude, and every white boy in the whole world be on my shit. Anyway, and they try to make it seem like, oh, he had to be drunk to fuck her, and then it lets you know, oh, she ain't got no shame, you know. At the film's end, the tainted descendant of the Union is subjected to euthanasia with the approval of the burrow bed Jesus, who stands over the cradle. This ham-handed bit of eugenic propaganda buoyed popular sentiment toward eugenics. So, and this lets you know the mind state of the white woman sometimes. I mean, of this time, I'm gonna say. This is why. What grown woman is gonna watch that, because at first it was this picture perfect white family, but because he was seduced by this shameless black woman after a night of booze, okay, resulted in an unwanted baby. And so now killing this baby's okay because we can't have no baby by no black woman and fuck up our family. Like, bitch. What kind of grown woman watches that and be like, ooh, that's a good idea? Soon life began to intimate I'm sorry. Soon life began to imitate Hazelden's art. German doctors became obsessed with regaining an imaginary German doctors. I'm so sorry, y'all. I am so off today. German doctors became obsessed with regaining an imaginary Nordic purity even before the 1933 rise of Hitler and National Socialism. But U.S. national eugenics policies had employed unconscionable medical violations against those considered unfit, including blacks, since 1910. The lines of American and German eugenics were united not only by a shared vision of racial purity, but also by the International Society of Racial Hygiene. Chief among its American members was mathematician and biologist Charles Davenport, PhD, who established the Station for Experiment Evolution. And in 1910, the privately funded and Seminole Eugenics Record Office at Cold Spring Harbor on Long Island, New York, which joined the SEE in 1920 under the aegis of the Carnegie Institution. Them big names, I'm learning more and more. Those long-standing names, the Rockefellers and shit like that, I'm learning more and more. You can't trust them old niggas over there. Davenport was fascinated by biometrics. This quantitative study of evolution under him The ERO conducted research on human heredity by means of numerically mapping human traits, collecting large amounts of eugenic data from scientists and physicians who shared their parents' family and medical histories. The ERO also informed popular and legal opinion concerning eugenics, as when Davenport's duty, Harry Hamilton Laughlin, provided the extensive statistical research that proved essential to the national origins of 1924. It barred immigrants from Southern and Eastern Europe countries as dysgenic. The ERO was so indispensable to the prestige of eugenic science that when Carnegie withdrew its funding support on December 31st, 1939, its closing marked the official end of the eugenics era. Laughlin, who was also head of the SEE, worried in print that no two races had ever maintained their purity while living in close proximity. uh, they worried no two races have ever maintained their purity while living in as close proximity as U.S. blacks and whites did. In 1910, he published a research study of skin colors that resulted from black and white matings. You know why? Because the white boys fucking love us, bitch. And them white bitches love us too. The fuck you mean? Them white bitches was sneaking out getting that black dick just like them white boys was sneaking out and getting our great grandmothers too. Fuck is you talking about? Trying to make it seem like we're fucking ill. They're the ones sneaking out, and if you try to say something and act, oh, he hurt me and this and that, you might as well just hang yourself from the fucking tree. Predictably, warm relations reigned between American eugenicists and German, who shared Laughlin's aberrance of black-white mating. In 1933, Davenport's Eugenical News praised the German race hygiene movement and published abstracts of articles from German eugenics journals such as Archive für Rassen and Bitch. Let me show you this word. What the fuck is this? I hope you can see it. Bitch, what the fuck is that word? What is this? What is this? What is that? What is that? Who the fuck? What is that word? Bitch, what the fuck is that? What is that? I am not even gonna try. Bitch, I'm not even gonna try. Hold on, let's see what it sounds like. Let's see what it sounds. It's dumb letters. GESELLSCHA. They gonna just use all the letters. FTSBI. Oh, oh, I'm gonna get the pronunciation on that ass. Taco, stop it. Oh, they don't got it. I think Google confused too. They don't got the word. I don't know how to pronounce that. Whatever. Laughlin shared the detailed information about eugenic sterilization in the United States when Eugene Fisher, director of Berlin's Kaiser Wilhelm Institute for Stop it. Oh my God, I don't know none of these words. Anthropology, mensaliche, I don't know. This is German, man. Oh, she got it in English. Institute for Anthropology, Human Genetics, and Eugenics. In gratitude, Heidelberg University awarded Laughlin an honorary Doctor of Medicine degree in 1936. Taco! Although, although cruel acts of genocide were primarily directed against Jews and white Europeans, National Socialists and also considered any admixture of people of African descent intolerable. For example, the Rhineland I don't know, were offspring. It sounds like they called them bastards. The Rhineland Bastardae were offspring born during the 1920s of German women and French Somalian soldiers. Oh, you were French and Somalian? Okay. Or German and Somalian who were stationed in the Rhineland during its post World War II or World War One occupation. The Reichsburnführer Richard Walther declared, as in Rhinelander, I demand sterilization for all mulattoes whom we were saddled by the black shame on the Rhine. Okay, I'm sorry, but these German words are jacking me up. This is gonna be a hard one. So they was racist as fuck too. German hereditary health courts judged the reproductive fitness of poor and ill Gentiles on a case by case basis, but for Blacks and Afro Germans. Visual or verbal evidence of African ancestry was enough to justify immediate secret sterilization in on site on-site clinics under Special Commission Number 3, which was devised by Eugene Fisher in 1937. Taco! For example, Frankfurt Health Office records for June 19, 1937 wrote, the German citizen Joseph Feck, born Taco! I'm sorry, y'all. Stop it. Born on September 26, 1920, and residing in Mainz, is a descendant of the former colonial occupation troops, North Africa, and distinctively displays the corresponding anthropological characteristics. For that reason, he is to be sterilized. His mother consents to the sterilization. Wow. So I wonder if you could not consent. Upon demand, Afro German men had to produce health documents certifying that they had been sterilized. And although the sterilization of at least 385 children is well documented, an entire generation of Afro Germans was robbed of its fertility. However, Nazi eugenicists frequently observed that their laws to bar Jewish Aryan mating were more liberal than were American laws to separate people of African descent from the white genetic pool. Germans held that a person who was one quarter Jewish was a legal Aryan and thus fit to marry a German. But parallel marriages and matings between whites and blacks were illegal in much of the United States and, in effect, punishable by death, lynching. The one drop laws of many southern states counted anyone who had even one-third second African heritage as black. Other laws, such as the 1924 Virginia Racial Integrity Act, denominated anyone with any Negro blood at all as black. Editors of German medical journals learned a great deal about eugenic prescription by studying American medical journals, whose charts precisely detail which racial mixtures were tolerable in marriages to whites. who was white enough to vote, and so on. In fact, a cordial rivalry characterized the relationship between German and American eugenicists. The Germans are beating us at our own game, Virginian eugenicist Dr. Joseph S. Dagernet signed in a thinly veiled admiration during a 1934 speech in which he urged the Virginia legislature to expand its sterilization laws. Oh, wow. However, eugenics initiatives, like much of the unethical racial experimentation in the United States, suffered from more than moral flaws. They were simply illogical. There are several reasons why any experiments in improving health and purifying racial stock by removing certain tainted individuals from populations will fail to root out the unwanted genes. But scientists had known of at least one since 1917. Before the advent of genetic screening tests, one had only classic Mendelian genetics to rely upon, and one could determine whether a person was a carrier of a genetic taint only by the health of his children. Too late for the eugenic measures to prevent breeding. English Genesis P.C. Punnett had determined by 1917 that eugenic steps to prevent the reproduction of people exhibiting disease symptoms would fail to detect so many carriers that they would be rendered useless. This knowledge made eugenic strategies and goals sufficiently invalid and well as morally repugnant. You think, bitch? The Negro Project. Oh shit, this is my shit. This is when we gonna get introduced to Miss Sanger, the Negro Project, because she the only raggedy bitch that would come up with some shit like that. Hold on, y'all. We already an hour in. Hold on. I was talking too long about Velvet and them fools. Stumbling and bumbling all over my words. But I hope y'all got the message. It was something that just came to me. So it is what it is. I'm sorry if it's jumbled up, but if it feels that way, if it sounds that way, it came from a real place. Okay, chapter. Okay. All right, y'all. Thanks for being patient. Bam. All right. The Negro Project. Let me get some water. Margaret Sanger, born to a Corning, New York socialist in 1883, was the most famous American popularizer of eugenics. Although she is usually lauded as a powerful birth control pioneer and as a feminist, all these labels fit. Her abundant writings and speeches and myriad projects reveal a complex, passionate woman whose mission changed over time from women's rights advocacy to eugenics. Sanger shaped American reproductive policy by toppling the Comstock Laws against the against contraceptive distribution by I meant to tell y'all what that meant. Hold on. It's basically saying that, oh, that's too obscene and shit like that. Hold on, let me just make sure though. I was wrong earlier. Hold on. Comstock Law. Okay, the Comstock Laws were set federal acts passed by the United States government or Congress under the grant emissions along with related laws. The Parent Act was passed on March 3rd, 1873 as the Act for the Suppression of Trade and in Circulation of Obscene Literature and Articles of Immoral Use. Okay, so productive policy for toppling the Comstock laws against contraceptive distribution by catalyzing the development of the birth control pill and by founding the organization that became Planned Parenthood, the nation's 12th largest charitable organization. But she did so in alliance with eugenicists. And through initiatives such as the Negro Project, Sanger exploited Black stereotypes in order to reduce the fertility of African Americans. Sanger was a cautious speaker, so it is important to examine not only what she said, but what she did. In her 1922 eugenics tome, The Pivot of Civilization, she claimed eugenics is chiefly valuable in its negative aspects. On, on its so-called positive or constructive side, it fails to awaken any permanent interest. In this book, Sanger popularized her research into the eugenic value of various types of Americans by offering up a slew of case histories. She published a dysgenic family case history to describe the eugenic problems Black families presented. Okay, here she go. The parents of a feeble-minded girl, 20 years of age, who was committed to the Kansas City industrial farm on a vagrancy charge, lived in the thickly populated Negro district, which was reported by the police to be the headquarters for the criminal element of the surrounding state. Sanger tells us a great live in detail that all the girl's family died early or went on to leave lives of hyper fixed hyper, I don't know what that is, but prostitution, violent crimes are all the above. The Negro district itself, we were told, is the headquarters for the criminal element. So clearly, we weren't meant to take the Black girl's dysfunctional family as representative. While Sanger's early campaigns were aimed primarily at Eastern Europeans, she turned her attention to Blacks in 1929. That year, Lothrop Stoddard wrote his book, The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy, while serving on the board of directors of Sanger's American Birth Control League. And Sanger's lover, Havelock Ellis, oh my God, their names, reviewed it favorably in her journal, Birth Control Review. That year, she also discarded labels such as good or bad breeding stock in favor of class or income level. As she began researching birth patterns in Harlem, where 224,000 of New York City's 330 African Americans lived. Sanger entitled the June 1932 Birth Control Review, The Negro Number. Oh my God, I'm getting pissed off. And she recruited Black leaders to contribute articles in support of the eugenic cause. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, the NAACP, uh, the founder, W.E.B. Du Bois, wrote and Sanger often quoted. This is what he wrote. The mass of ignorant Negroes still breed carelessly and distrustfully, so that the increase among Negroes, even more than the increase among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit, and least able to rear their children properly. Wow, is that what he said? Charles S. Johnson, Fisk University's first Black president, wrote that eugenic discrimination was necessary for Blacks and a dozen black writers agreed in print. In January 1939, Sanger's American Birth Control League merged with the Clinical Research Bureau to form the Birth Control Federation of America. Later that year, Sanger devised the Negro Project, which was established for the benefit of colored people, specifically black women who were being denied access to city health services. These first experimental family planning centers sought to find the best way of reducing the black population by promoting eugenic principles and were also founded in black areas such as Macon County, Alabama, site of the notorious syphilis study. Dubois also suggested approaching black churches, declaring them open to intelligent propaganda of any sort. Oh, that's true to this day. And added that her organization and other agencies ought to get their speakers before church congregations and their arguments into the Negro newspapers. Sanger took Du Bois' advice, writing the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We do not want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. She said, because she listened to this black dude, W.E.D. Du Bois, who told her, yeah, you could get these niggas through church. And it says Sanger took his advice and she wrote the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through religious appeal. We do not want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Oh my God. And the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it occurs to any of their more rebellious members. Oh, wow. So, any free thinking of any sort, oh my God, that's so fucking ill. So, they use black people's churches as a place that they think, see, you can't trust them motherfuckers. I'm telling you. I don't know. I don't know. I'm off my game a little bit today. But I don't know. I just feel some kind of way today. I shouldn't have started off with that Malaya update. She recruited the support of such luminaries as Adam Clayton Powell Jr. of the Abyssinian Baptist Church and later the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Sanger also, dang, Martin Luther King Jr. too? Sanger also wanted a black doctor and social worker to staff the clinic in order to gain black patients' trust. She assured the doubtful BCFA that the Black Physicians Authority would be limited and he, like the clinic board members, would be chosen for tractability. His work, in my opinion, should be entirely with the Negro profession and the nurses, hospital social workers, as well as the county's white doctors. His success will depend upon his personality and his training by us. When the Black Harlem Clinic personnel eventually protested their lack of autonomy, the BCFA withdrew support and the clinic closed. But Sanger's experiment of addressing Black social ills with the application of negative eugenics via Black birth control clinics was so successful that it persists today. It sure does. That's why you can always find a Planned Parenthood or some kind of clinic in the hood. That's why. Sanger left another important legacy. She supported the development of birth control pills. Waves of social and political transformation roiled the 1960s and 1970s, but some of the most lasting revolutions were triggered by a single medical event, the development of the pill. It placed cheap, easy contraception within women's grasp for the first time with an ideal laboratory rate of 98% effectiveness. The women's movement was galvanized by the sudden ability to reliably uncouple sex from procreation. So was the sexual revolution. Wow, that's deep. And if you really think about it, I mean, it really affects both black and white folks. You know what I'm saying? But with the eugenicists, it didn't matter though. I mean, even though we were predominantly fucked up, you know, if you were like a retarded white person, slow, deformed, feeble-minded, and all of that, then you were generally forced. You were sterilized too. So white folks wasn't off limits either. Um, and it does persist to this day in our foods and all the bad shit that we ingest. That shit, what a fucking setup. And the sexual, I saw something a long time ago about condoms and how that was used to put fear into people so they wouldn't have raw sex. That was I heard that somewhere. We should look into that. The birth control pill was, but not that I'm encouraging it. You know, you want to wait to have a baby. I'm just saying, you want to be on deck. You don't want to just be squeezing them out. But I mean, we should be making more black babies. Is all I'm saying. The birth control pill was developed during an era in which abortion was still illegal, but laws prohibiting contraceptive use also remained in effect until the 1960s, and the distribution of information about the contraception was not legalized until 1971. Damn. Legal spermicidal creams and jellies were expensive, hard to obtain, and unreliable. So were the back alley abortions from which thousands of women died horribly. The pill was made available to poor black women free or cheaply from government sponsored Planned Parenthood clinics in central urban areas. Facilities that were a direct progeny of Sanger's Negro Project clinics. Clinics had many other contraceptive technologies in their arsenals, including condoms and diaphragms, barrier methods that physically blocked access of semen to the uterine neck, backed up by spermicidal jellies and creams. Clinics also fitted more African American women than white women with uterine devices or IUDs. But a history of forcible sterilization fed suspicions that the federally financed birth control clinics in neighborhoods were attempts to discover the best way to limit or erase the Black presence in America. Florida NAACP Director Marvin Davies argued that Blacks needed to produce as many babies as possible until Blacks constituted 30 to 35% Americans. I agree. In 1962, the National Urban League rescinded its support of, contraception, and so did many local NAACP chapters. 28% of Blacks surveyed in the 1960s agreed that encouraging Blacks to use birth control is comparable to trying to eliminate this group from society. Facts. The genocidal fear where Taco, stop. Well, he said no. These genocidal fears were dismissed as paranoia, but prominent white physicians had long advocated a reduction in Black births as a means of pinching off the race. That is ill. That is ill. That is ill, ill, ill. Oh my God. Did you guys just hear what the fuck I just read? So this bitch set up these clinics in 1960 something, and they still popping to this day. Like to this day. And some chicks be like, yeah, I had 3, 4, 5 of them. It ain't nothing. And don't feel no kind of way. There need to be more Black babies. Taco is on one. I think that goes back in here right now. For example, politically influential physician Charles S. Bacon, MD, advocated that the Black Belt will be defined by the government as Negro reservation, similar to the Indian reservations. The plan was that the plan that has worked so well in its treatment of the Indian question until it has practically eliminated the question with the race. Oh my God. The Black Belt will be defined by the government as a Negro reservation similar to the Indian reservations. The plan that has worked so well in its treatment of the Indian question until it has practically eliminated the question with the race. Who talks about the Indians? The feather Indians. Nobody. Unless it's Halloween. The 1967 Black Power Conference in Newark, New Jersey, passed a resolution that equated birth control with Black genocide. And that year, a crowd of Blacks chanted genocide as they burned down Cleveland, Ohio, contraceptive clinic. Those who cried genocide found support in the United Nations resolution. On December 9, 1948, in reaction to the Nazi engineered European Holocaust, the United Nations Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide unanimously passed a genocide provision prescribing any attempt to destroy a racial or religious group by killing or harming its members. Resolution 260 A of the United Nations General Assembly of 1948 states in part: genocide means any of the following acts committed with an intent to destroy, in whole or in part, a national, ethnical, racial, or religious group as such, killing members of the group, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, emphasis added. Oh, okay, I should have said that. Causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. So I guess this is against the human laws, right? Um, the document also prohibited imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group, forcibly transferring children of the group to another group. Many Blacks argue that the birth control movement per se constitutes genocide under Article D because its negative eugenic stance has constantly targeted Blacks. By 1972, the American Journal of Public Health verified the load of genocidal fears in white and had widened. 40% of surveyed Blacks now believe birth control clinics were a ploy to eradicate Blacks, and these respondents expressed the deep distrust of sterilization programs, abortion clinics, and any birth control programs run by whites. I mean, hell, they got every right to think that way. Look at what the fuck they was doing. They were sterilizing them without their fucking consent. Why wouldn't they feel that way? However, a strong gender divide prevailed. Men much more likely to denounce birth control as genocide than women, especially young, less well edu- less well educated, poor and northern men. In contrast, most women embrace birth control, and more women than men countenance abortion. In the 1970s, social activist Donald Donald Boujay found that 80% of Black women he surveyed in Chicago approved of birth control, and 73% or 75% were using it. Unlike Fannie Lou Hamer, many Black women of the post pill generation had career options thanks to the racial integration of schools and workplaces. Women were eager to leave unskilled labor behind and to enter a professional sphere, so they wished to delay the responsibilities of motherhood until they were ready. Okay, I mean, I guess I could see that. I see that. I mean, in the 70s, but that's when shit was starting to change and niggas was starting to be different. So, and then they had that whole women's movement and shit. Like, I don't need no man, and all that shit was popping off too at the same time. So they're, they're getting there. It's a double thing there. But many Black women who desired and used birth control did so despite a strong distrust of the whites who distributed contraception in their communities. In 1972, Black social worker uh, Uriah Brown voiced this ambiguity. Negroes do not want children they can't take care of, but we are afraid to trust you when you offered help has often turned out to be exploitation. Black Chicago activist Lonnie Myers confessed her discomfort with the fact that some birth control funding came from those races who simply wished to decrease the number of blacks in the city. But she noted that any cause had strange bedfellows. Any cause that had strange bedfellows. Blacks also drew a distinction between physician-controlled methods as those that could control themselves. 87% of the surveyed blacks said they approved of public contraceptive clinics, while 47% rejected sterilization. 47%, bitch. Who was they interviewing? Considering the social complexities, is the term genocide an accurate description of birth control initiatives directed at African Americans? The proliferation of birth control clinics that were clearly aimed at African American population falls neatly with the UN definitions. They were intended to selectively reduce birth within the group. Also, these clinics were numerous and well funded at the time when health advocates failed to address more pressing African American health issues, such as abysmal nutrition, poor control of infectious disease, high infant mortality, low life expectancy, poor quality health care, scarce mental health care, and even a lack of access to hospitals and physicians. This medical myopia cripples any argument that birth control clinics were erected with the health of African Americans in mind. Flat out. But although the proliferation of birth control clinics was unethical, the general rise of reproductive clinics in Black neighborhoods did not constitute genocide because, whatever the intent of whites who introduced them, such measures were widely embraced by Black women. They welcomed contraceptive choice. However, rarely they eyed those who offered it. So they was fucking with the idea, even though this was intentional than a motherfucker, but they didn't know that then, right? Although they didn't trust the doctors and the clinics who was distributing this shit, they still low key fucked with the birth control. But as we soon see, some contraceptive initiatives did richly earn the genocide label. After the first giddy honeymoon, women and their doctors, oh my God, women and their doctors realized that the pill's high levels of hormones were harmful. It was dangerous for women who smoked, and it inflated hypertension and stroke risk. Serious falls for African Americans, who are especially vulnerable to both conditions. Moreover, forgotten and late pills lowered the contraceptive's real world effectiveness rate to only 70 to 80%. The same vulnerability haunted most other popular birth control methods, except one, the intrauterine device, the IUD, a favor with the birth control clinics that served inner city women. The IUD had many forms, but was essentially a small, thin, and oddly shaped wire coil that a doctor inserted into the uterus, where it prevented pregnancy until the physician removed it. That gives me creeps. The IUD proved disastrous for African Americans. Initially, researchers were not sure how it worked, but after several years, they speculated that it continually irritated the uterine lining, creating an inhospitable environment that prevented the implantation of a fertilized egg. This discovery enraged many Black women because it seemed like murdering an unborn child. Also, Black women are particularly vulnerable to uterine conditions such as fibroids, endometriosis, and cancer, making constant irritation of the uterus seem ill advised. Finally, the IUD was unmasked as a killer. It became associated with the deadly infections that hampered or destroyed users' fertility. Later, scientists determined that the braided string descending from the wire of a Dawkins shield IUD provided a breeding ground for dangerous bacteria. I mean, duh, bitch. And not only that, it's a wire. Oh my God. Most IUDs were taken off the market by the 1980s because Dawkins shields were primarily dispensed in inner city clinics. Some activists charged that Black women had been targeted to test a form of birth control known to cause sterility. However, this is unlikely. Scientists clearly hoped that devices would work well, not fail. But researchers did introduce racial bias by overwhelmingly apportioning the potential health risks of experimental birth control technology. Oh my God. Did y'all hear that? That is so nasty. Oh my God. But they was targeting us, women of color, including Black American women. The pill Norplant and the Depo-Provera shot were first tested in Mexico, Africa, Brazil, Puerto Rico, and India. Once approved, they were administered to large numbers of girls and women in the U.S. in U.S. venues that are disproportionately and usually overwhelmingly African American and Hispanic. These include urban Planned Parenthood clinics, school-based that were Medicaid patients. Many serious effects emerged for the first time during this post approval stage when very large numbers of women began taking the drug. Thus, this immediately post approval use of contraceptive methods in a large numbers of closely monitored poor women of color constituted a final testing arm so that they were unwittingly participating in a research study. At this stage, serious health complications emerge with the methods such as IUD, Norplant, and the shot before they ever gained popularity with middle or upper class white women who were cared for by private physicians. In patterns too consistent to be accidental, reproductive drug testing makes poor women of color at home and abroad bear the brunt of any health risks that emerged. Oh my God, just like that shit. Where did they go? Tell me where did they go? They went to the motherland. Yes, they did. They sure did went to the motherland. And then, not to mention that he went out to India and paralyzed all those kids. Bill Gates. He went out to India and all them kids ended up, a whole bunch of kids couldn't walk. They ended up sick. Some of them died because they like to test on the brown people first. We've seen that since the Thomas Jefferson's day back in chapter damn one. Um, the Mississippi appendectomy. The pill may have been flawed and the IUD deadly, but those methods were at least quasi voluntary, and their effects were usually temporary. The most damaging threat to African American reproductive freedom has been invasive and permanent. Damn, that's some strong ass cologne. Compulsory surgical sterilization. When the infamous German eugenic sterilization initiative began in January 1934, 17 U.S. states were already performing sterilizations routinely. In that year, between 2,000 and 4,000 Americans were sterilized. Indiana passed legislation requiring the sterilization of the mentally unfit in 1907. By 1911, 6 states had passed laws providing for compulsory sterilization of the mentally unfit. In 1935, 27 states had such laws for the feeble minded, those on welfare, or those with genetic defects. Forced sterilization was encouraged by the infamous 1927 Buck versus Bell decision, wherein Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes ordered the sterilization of the allegedly em- embellic poor white girl Carrie Buck. In Tony, 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. Oh my God. By the 1930s, compulsory sterilization had become a global enterprise, and by 1941, sterilization had been forced upon 70,000 to 100,000 Americans, over 9,000 of them in California alone. African Americans have always been staggeringly overrepresented in the ranks of the sterilized. When the North Carolina Eugenic Commission sterilized 8,000 mentally retarded persons throughout the 1930s, that's what I was talking about earlier. 5,000 were black. Damn. 8,000 and 5,000 were black. By 1983, when blacks constituted only 12% of the population, 43% of women sterilized in federally funded family planning programs were African Americans. This has been achieved under the government fed by the myth of the lazy, hyper-fertile welfare mother. Say welfare mother, and most people think of the unemployed black woman. Yet most women on welfare are not black. A 1990 survey revealed that 78% of whites think blacks prefer welfare to employment. But most black women are employed full time and hold at least a job, at least one job. And women on welfare likely to be employed part time at low wage jobs with few, if any, benefits. However, a black woman is more likely to receive aid to dependent children, the form of public assistance given to people with minor children, than is a white woman. Black women constitute 6% of the population, but represent 1/3 of those on welfare, okay? And if some poor urban areas, such as Baltimore, which is 86% Black, the majority of people on welfare are also Black. It's 86% Black. Hey, yo, I was thinking about living in Baltimore. But that accent that you do, and I ain't with it. Forced sterilization and welfare have been linked for nearly half a century. Mississippi State Legislator David H. Glass instituted a bold experiment when he sought legal means to force sterilization upon welfare mothers in 1958. By 1960, his act to discourage immorality of unmarried females, providing for sterilization of unwed mothers, passed in the House by a vote of 72 to 37, but died in the Senate as Black Activist Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee protested and distributed a pamphlet entitled Genocide in Mississippi. I know that's right. But most sterilizations of poor Black women have been performed outside the law and in violation of medical mores. In June 1973, the abuse of 2 young sisters in Montgomery, Alabama, exposed the decades of stolen African American fertility. 12-year-old Mary Alice Ralph and her sister Minnie, 14, lived on lived on relief with their parents, who had left their meager living as field hands in unsuccessful search for work in the city. A Montgomery Community Action Agency nurse took the girls to the hospital for a federally funded contraceptive shot and obtained the. Oh, I saw this earlier. Uh, um, or was that Law and Order where the doctor marked the X? Obtained X, each a literate parent on the consent form, but their parents later learned that the girls have been surgically sterilized. Oh yeah, this was I watched that. I watched that documentary, and they asked Atlanta Southern Poverty Law Center for help. Excuse me, when the SPLC filed a class action lawsuit to end the use of federally funds for involuntary sterilization, its lawyers discovered that 100,000 to 150,000 women have been sterilized using federal funds, and that half these women were Black. Today, one third of all adult Mississippi women and 57% of all Mississippi women 35 and older has said that they had a Mississippi um, that they have undergone a hysterectomy. So that means they took all their reproductive organs out. 57% have had a hysterectomy. Sometimes the physicians remove the woman's uterus. Oh my God. Sometimes the physician removed the woman's uterus on some pretext after coercing or tricking her into assent for unnecessary sterilization. The women who were sterilized while unconscious, as Fannie Lou Hamer was in the South, rendering Black women infertile without their knowledge during other surgery was so common that the procedure was called a Mississippi appendectomy. Involuntary hysterectomies were also commonly practiced in the North. A 1973 study by Bernard Rosenfeld of Los Angeles County Hospital discovered that doctors are cleverly subjecting women. Oh, that's not cleverly, cavalierly subjecting women, most of them poor and Black, to surgical sterilization without explaining either the potential hazards or alternate methods of birth control. In most major hospitals, New York, it was the unwritten policy to do elective hysterectomies on poor Black and Puerto Rican women with, with minimal indication to train residents. In 1972, medical students at Boston City Hospital protested the policy of performing unnecessary hysterectomies on Black women in order to allow residents to practice. That's why you don't let no students in your room. Tell them to take their raggedy asses out your room. You can't practice on your girl. You can't practice on me. The students also complained about experimental procedures, the coercion of patient signatures, and falsifying medical records were common practices among patients. So did students at Columbia University. The chairman of the BCH OBGYN program did not deny the charges, but blamed one bad apple. Okay, bitch, but you was complacent with that bad apple. You was chilling with the bad apple. You was posted up with the bad apple. Mm-mm. Across the nation, Black women who trusted the OBGYN to deliver their children being um, were being sterilized. They were being secretly sterilized. I'm not going to try to pronounce that word, but it's secretly sterilized. And this revelation poisoned relationships between them and their doctors. Get you a doula, whatever you call them. To accomplish the sterilizations, practitioners lied to patients, forged consent forms, or falsified medical records to reflect an appendectomy or a gallbladder removal. So it is now impossible to know the exact number of American women who were sterilized without their knowledge, nor is there any record of how many hysterectomies, if any, were medically justified. Some women, like Fannie Lou Hamer, were never told by their doctors that they had been sterilized, and others never found out. That makes me want to pull my whole medical record. Just pull the whole motherfucker. I just feel like I want to pull every procedure I ever. That is scary. One of the few methodical surveys conducted revealed that at least 60% of the Black women in Hamer's native sunflower unwillingly suffered postpartum hysterectomies. By 1980, sterilization had become the most common form of birth control, and it still is, edging out condom use by 1%. But African American women remain far more likely than whites to undergo hysterectomy, although researchers have known for over a decade that they are higher risk of the procedure's complications and are more likely to die from the surgery. According to the National Center for Health Statistics, 41% of Black women who used contraception were sterilized, compared with only 27% of white women. Within a century, reproductive coercion had taken a 180-degree turn for Black women. During slavery, black women had been forced to procreate, but now they were being forced into sterility. The constant factor was white control. Women were also forced into sterility by governmental welfare programs, upon which unskilled Black women workers were allowed to supplement their meager wages. While a social worker in upstate New York during the 1980s, I learned from an old case files that during the 1960s and 70s, social workers conducted frequent late night raids on the homes of aid recipients. If a man was discovered, the family's aid could be cut off unless the woman agreed to sterilization, guaranteeing there would be no additional children for the state to support. Oh, wow. Black women are still more likely than white women to be pressured or misled into sterilization, which tripled by 1970 and 1980, in part because hysterectomies are offered as the only curative option for ailments that can be treated more conservatively, such as fibroids and endometriosis. Oh my God. By 1978, doctors also began administering the drug Depo-Provera, the shot, but only in research studies and almost exclusively to poor women, I'm sorry, y'all, of color. Depo-Provera in the Upjohn Company's brand name for, oh my goodness, medroxyprogesterone acetate, which is also called DMPA. In 1978, the drug just had been FDA approved for use as cancer therapy. In 1973, after the government discovered that beagles on which the drug had been tested developed breast cancer, it had refused to fund further testing of the drug as a contraceptive. Cancer medications carry significant risks, which are acceptable when one is fighting a deadly illness, but not when a healthy woman is simply trying to avoid pregnancy. However, licensed physicians may administer legal medications for any use they deem appropriate, and American doctors found it appropriate to administer Depo-Provera as an experimental contraceptive to healthy Native American and Black patients. In 1978, the FDA criticized an Emory University study of Depo-Provera as having needlessly imperiled the lives of 4,700 women, all Black, And in 1992, FDA an FDA board warned never has a drug whose target population is entirely healthy people been shown to be so pervasively carcinogenic in animals as Depo-Provera. Oh my God. So they tested this shit on the animals. This shit was mad dangerous. And they still gave it to us and sterilized over 4,700 women, all of them black. I don't know. If this don't burn you up. Listening to Norplant. Depo-Provera seemed discredited as a contraceptive. But in December 1990, the Food and Drug Administration approved another physician controlled contraceptive, uh, Le- Levonorgestrel, the Norplant contraceptive system, for use as a long term contraceptive. Norplant consists of 6 small rods that a physician surgically implants into a woman's upper arm using special tools and a local anesthetic. The rods slowly dispense the contraceptive. Oh my God, this is making me sick. The contraceptive progestin, a form of the female hormone, uh, progesterone, for 5 years, after which the surgeon replaces the rods. Norplant suppresses ovulation, thickens the cervical mucus to bar the entry of sperm, prevents the development of hospitable uterine environment, and may also discourage ovulation by suppressing the hormone lutein. It is extraordinarily efficient. I'm sorry, with an annual failure rate of only zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.6. With perfect condom use, 1 out of every 50 women will become pregnant each year, and so will 1 out of every 100 women who will use the pill. But only 1 out of every 500 women using Norplant will become pregnant. A 1995 Journal of the American Medical Association article attributed Norplant's effectiveness to the fact that it is controlled by the doctor, citing the steady serum levels of the levonorgestrel achieved and the fact that the user compliance is necessarily 100% as long as the capsules are in place. Norplant was developed by the Council, Population Control, okay? A New York foundation that researches and tests contraceptives on poor women of color abroad. It has subsequently been used by more than 1 million US women, nearly all poor. Planned Parenthood notes that 90% of Norplant implantations are paid through Medicaid in 43 states. A higher proportion of African American women than white receive these implants, chiefly in public and low income clinics. Why? Frederick Osborne, a Population Council founder, wrote, birth control and abortion are turning out to be major eugenic steps. But if they had been advanced for eugenic reasons, that would have retarded or stopped the accept. So basically, if it wasn't in the clinic and had easy access, then it would have been harder to trick people into being sterilized. I need to eat one. I'm sorry, y'all. I need to eat this. I'm hungry. I need it. What y'all think so far? Is this crazy as shit? Mm-mm. Your girl pro pistachio eater. From the first Nor plant was selectively marketed. Oh, wait. Um, from the first Nor plant was selectively marketed not only to poor Black women, but also to thousands of young Black girls. 50,000 Norplant kits implanted in 1991 and 92 included some for Black teenagers between 13 and 19 years old in the overwhelmingly African American Baltimore public high schools. This was justified by pointing to teenage pregnancy rates, but this solution to the teenage pregnancy problem was based on racist mythology rather than fact. In 1992, 73% of 50-year-old girls and 50% of 17-year-old girls were virgins, and more white teenage girls than Black became pregnant. Although although epidemiologists did not immediately recognize it, the American teenage pregnancy rate had already began falling, and the pregnancy rate of Black girls displayed and continues to display the sharpest decline of any ethnic group. However, Baltimore is typical. I'm sorry, y'all. Baltimore is atypical in that it is mostly Black. It has a teen pregnancy rate that was 3 times the national average, and 10% of its girls aged 15 to 17 are already mothers. These demographics make the city a useful setting for a national experiment with a racial agenda. The Lawrence G. Paquin Middle School Clinic became the first site for Norplant implementation. 35, 345 of its 350 girls were Black. Thus, policymakers focused upon the fertility of Black girls, and Norplant was deployed via school-based health clinics, the first 100 of which opened at Black minority schools. The Population Council has argued the contraceptive safety has been proven by 15 years of data from 55,000 women and 170 clinic trials. But in 1992, Norplant had never been tested in such young girls. Researchers were monitoring their health and reactions by Population Council. In other words, Norplant implementation in these girls constituted a large-scale national experiment, and this research component placed pressure upon the school's clinic staff to achieve a near 100% participation rate as possible. They, in turn, pressured all the girls to undergo implantation, typically citing confidentiality to bypass their parents. As one aggrieved African American parent put it, my daughter can be implanted with Norplant or have an abortion without my input or knowledge via the school-based clinic. But my suburban co-workers field calls from nurses who must get their permission to give their daughters an aspirin. Wow, how. So you could just do whatever with our kids, is what you saying. I need another one. It is not surprising that the conservative National Review praised Baltimore's experiment, declaring, maybe I shouldn't go to Baltimore. I just want to go to a predominantly Black city where the Black guys, make good money and one Black woman, and they're not dusties. Um, mm, mm, mm. It is not surprising the conservative National Review praised the Baltimore experiment, declaring a better prophylactic a better prophylactic than that of abortion, as if these were the only two options for Black girls. But so did the New York Times and the Philadelphia Inquirer. The latter suggests an infamous December 12, 1990 editorial that Black women be paid to have Norplant implanted in order to reduce the underclass. Can contraceptive reduce the underclass? Two stories from yesterday's paper. The US FDA approves a contraceptive that can keep women from getting pregnant for 5 years. A research organization reports that nearly half the nation's children are living in poverty, and that the younger the child, the more likely he or she is to be living with a single mother on welfare. Growing numbers of them will not succeed, the study author says. As we read those two stories, we ask ourselves, dare we mention them in the same breath? To do so might be considered deplorably insensitive, perhaps raising the specter of eugenics, but it would be worse to avoid drawing the logical conclusion that foolproof contraception could be an invaluable in breaking the cycle of inner city poverty, one of America's greatest challenges. Without proof, the editorial went on to link teen pregnancy and Black poverty in a casual relationship averring. The main reason more Black children are living in poverty is that people having the most children are the ones least capable of supporting them. More Black children are living in poverty, but the Black teen pregnancy rate is falling. This is not this is not rising, so it cannot be the key impetus behind such a surge in Black poverty. In fact, poverty precedes pregnancy. The teen mothers are already poor, and children who are poor are higher risk for precocious pregnancy. Most media analyzes did not speak directly of Norplant as the key to as a key to stemming Black reproduction. Instead, coded terminology as inner city and underclass, welfare mother, and urban poor was widely understood to denote Black women. I hate that they label it on us, but at the same time, it was kind of true. I mean, am I bugging or not? I don't know. But she's saying the numbers are saying that it wasn't. Maybe was it the propaganda? I don't know. I don't know. Young girls become pregnant because of a complex set of psychological pressures and risk factors that a pill, a shot, or implanted capsule cannot address alone. Girls at risk tend to be poor, academically struggling, naive about sex and reproduction. They are usually preyed upon and even raped by younger men, older men. Yet the inquiry reduced the wrenching quandary of teen pregnancy to a matter of Norplant, for which it suggested welfare mothers, Black women receive cash and bribes. In 1991, Norplant fan David Duke, the Louisiana legislator and former KKK Grand Wizard, introduced legislation whereby women on welfare who agreed to Norplant implementation will be paid $100 annually. And other lawmakers followed suit, offering birth control to poor women is a laud- laudable goal, but such schemes unduly entice them. The media and lawmakers debates all stress that Norplant is a safe contraceptive, but is it? According to a 1995 report in the Journal of Family Practice, 95% of women in a large-scale trial of Norplant had at least one side effect. 80% suffered menstrual changes, 32 experienced weight gain, 24% headaches, 16% mood changes, and 15 acne. Norplant is contradictive for women with diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and a tendency toward blood clots and acute liver dysfunction, all of which American women develop and die from at a higher rate than do white women. Norplant is contradicted in women with breast cancer, a disease that kills African American women at rates up to 20% higher than white women. The mood swings and weight gain resulting from Norplant pose serious risks for African American women who already suffer from the nation's highest rates of life-threatening obesity and major depression. In fact, the contraceptive's efficiency drops from 99% to 92% in women who weigh more than 155 pounds because its dosage is calibrated for smaller women. Beyond the viewing of videotape, physicians typically were not trained in Norplant insertion and removal, which is more complicated by thick, overgrown keloid scars in Black women. We learned some lessons from Norplant, said Dr. Trent, a reproductive health specialist in the National Institutes of Health in 2002. As it turned out, at least in some cases, removal was a difficult process. Such effects drove 1 in 3 women implanted with Norplant to seek its removal within the first year. Okay, 3 years later, half had sought its removal, but women who decided that Norplant and its myriad health hazards were not for them often found themselves tethered to the contraceptive because although Medicaid eagerly proffered the cost in inserting Norplant, it was less forthcoming with the $500 removal fee. Oh wow! So they was ready to put it in you, but you ain't ready to handle what comes out. Norplant was a subject of recall in 2000, and it was taken off the market by July 2002. By the later half of the 1990s, another physician mediated long term contraceptive had appeared to replace Norplant in low cost clinics in African American schools. The Depo-Provera shot, despite its checkered past as a FDA condemned carcinogen. So, so they went back to the shot after all that. After all that, they went back to the shot. Wow, that's ill. In 1990, 27-year-old Darlene Johnson's all these noises are getting on my nerves. Sorry, I'm so distracted. Stop, Taco. 27-year-old Darlene Johnson's judge made her an offer she could not refuse. The California mother of 4 had spanked her 6-year-old daughter with a belt and an electric cord for smoking a cigarette. And her 4-year-old got the same punishment when Johnson caught her inserting a wire hanger in an electrical outlet. I would have beat her ass too. I don't know. It's like an instinct or something. Don't you do that, you stupid motherfucker. Okay. Now Johnson was frightened. She had pled guilty to 3 counts of felony child abuse, was facing prison time, and was 8 months pregnant. Enter Judge Howard Broadman, who offered her a choice of 7 years jail time or 1 year in jail and 3 years probation if she agreed to Norplant insertion. Wow. So they were reducing niggas' sentences for the drugs? Because he knew it would do her bad. That's why. Johnson asked whether it was safe. Brotman assured her that it was and could be easily removed if she experienced difficulty. Johnson agreed, but when she discovered the Norplant is contradicted in women like herself who suffer from diabetes and hypertension, she changed her mind. Although the ACLU and even the district attorney joined her lawyers in urging Brotman to release her from the agreement, he would not. Ultimately, Johnson was jailed for violating her probation by using drugs. This rendered her case moot, but not winning, but not the window it opened into the coercive use of contraceptive and sterilization by the legal system. So here she is in court because of child abuse, right? She's disciplining her children as I see it. In order to get her sentence reduced, he told her he would reduce her sentence if she would get the Norplant injection. I wonder how much he got paid for that. And I wonder how many other women got that and he got paid for it. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm hungry and distracted. Stop it. Mm-mm-mm. During the 50 years since eugenics heyday, the American courts have upheld procreation as a legally sacred civil right. In a 1942 decision, for example, the Supreme Court rejected an Oklahoma law allowing the sterilization of people who were convicted of multiple felonies involving moral turpitude. Yet Black women's fertility and their rights to refuse medication is treated differently. Many Darlene Many Darlene Johnsons exist, nearly all of them Black like her. Black women who abuse drugs are 10 times more likely than white women to be subjected to court-ordered long-term contraceptives, or sterilization. Forced contraceptive use is in response to allegations of child abuse is punishment, not therapy, because it does not protect the existing children as counseling would. It delays, not prevents, births for a duration of the Norplant sentence. In any event, preventing a child's birth is a draconian method of protecting it from abuse. In 1994, the Center for Reproductive Law and Policy in New York City accused the Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston of illegal drug testing and illegal human experimentation. According to a complaint filed with the Norman Institute, no, I'm sorry, y'all, filed with the National Institutes of Health, the hospital tested poor Black women who had voluntarily gone to the hospital to seek prenatal care for drugs without their consent, then reported those who had tested positive to the police. Oh, I heard about that. They started doing that then. Cause my partner, she smoked bud and everything, and she had a baby girl. This was hella long ago. And she's a good mama. Like she already had other kids and whatnot. After she had her baby, they found that she was positive for bud. But she didn't request or no drug test was requested. And they took her baby away from her. Isn't that ill? I mean, I guess that means she was smoking while she was pregnant, but I mean, I'm saying, even if she was, now I'm gonna play devil's advocate. Even if she was, why are you drug testing her? She just had a baby. You know what I'm saying? You ain't just testing that white woman across the hallway. Now are you? Um, I'm hungry. I cannot wait to eat and be done with this chapter. Hold on, y'all. I'm sorry. Fatal care. Between 1989 and 1994, approximately 40 of these women were arrested, some of whom gave birth while shackled to their hospital beds. U.S. Department of Health and Human Resource and Human Services Civil Rights Director Dennis Hayashi mounted a civil rights suit because all except one of the prosecuted women were black. The sole white arrestee as her girl. I'm sorry. I thought I was writer. I'm sorry, girl. I lost my place. It was about to be on over here. The sole white arrestee and her nurse noted the medical record lived with her boyfriend, who is a Negro. The hospital also conducted illegal research with these women. This selective arrest and prosecution of black women fits an insidious national pattern. According to Zita Lazzarini, director of the Medical Humanities, Health Law, and Ethics program in University of Connecticut School of Medicine, 86% of women prosecuted in jail for drug abuse while pregnant were black. Meanwhile, weed is legal now. So are they out of jail? In 1993, study of women whose offspring had been exposed to cocaine prenatally found that Black and Latino women were 72% more likely than white women to have their children removed by Child Protective Services. Public clinics in urban settings test and report more vigorously than do private clinics, and this helps drive the racial disparity. Because you know them white bitches be coking it up. Have you ever been to a white club? They be in there like I said, God damn, God damn. I'm telling you, they be coking it up. I'm telling you, I used to work at the club for a long time. And I didn't see the white girls do drugs. I mean, the black girls didn't do drugs like the white girls. And if the black girls did do the drugs like the white girls, that bitch been doing drugs before she came to the club. Okay? But for the most part, in my heyday, when I was pop locking and dropping in for a couple bucks, it was the white bitches that did the drugs. And it was the white bitches that sold drugs for the niggas. That's just what I saw with these eyes. I'm just saying. However, contrary to media representations, black and white women abuse drugs at the same rate. Not from what I seen. Not from what I seen. So one could accept equal drug abuse rates among pregnant black and white women. And this is the case. Several studies, including a 1990 New England Journal of Medicine report, found no insignificant race difference in drug use between pregnant black women and pregnant white women. But the study indicated that black women were 10 times likely to be reported to law enforcement officials. Of course, because they don't like us. Oh, the myth of a crack baby. Oh, this makes me want to watch Losing Isaiah. Oh, I think that probably promoted the propaganda. Do you think that's what it was? Do you think it was the movies and the music and the media all at the same time? These medical articles? Because think of the years that they're talking about. They're talking about in 1992, between 1989 and 1994 in that one page. So this is the Reagan era. This is the Dare to Care. This is the Just Say No program. So this is that war on drugs. Meanwhile, him and his partners is bringing boatloads of coke to the hood near you. And simultaneously, movies like New Jack City, Sugar Hill, Boys in the Hood, and all that, being a straight up menace and all that gangster shit was popping off. all at the same time. Am I putting the puzzle together? Well, anyway, I'm sorry, y'all. I can't stop, stop. Um, the myth of the crack baby. In September 1985, the New England Journal of Medicine, I'm starting to feel like we can't trust them. They published research by Dr. Ira Chasnoff, an associate professor of pediatrics and psychiatry at the University of Illinois, that described his findings that babies born to cocaine using mothers remain smaller, sicker, moodier, and less social than other infants. His investigation, however, was tentative and profoundly flawed. It had no control group. He had studied the children of a mere 23 women, far too few to infer anything about prenatal cocaine exposure in general. Chasnoff himself was careful to note that this methodological shortcomings, as he urged larger, more meaningful studies of prenatal drug exposure. Instead, his research was swallowed whole, then regurgitated in a racialized form by newspaper, magazine, and even medical accounts that focused sharply on babies harmed by the smokable form of cocaine, crack. African Americans and whites use cocaine at similar rates, but blacks are twice as likely as white to use it in crack form. However, 80% of drug users were white. How many? 80% of drug users are white, and in raw numbers, twice as many whites as black use crack cocaine. This means that white crack users should be twice as easy to find, but most people's image of crack user is informed by media accounts and that focus nearly exclusively on African American users since the early 1980s. Now, Americans associate crack with blacks and crack users with infants, dubbed crack babies, are always portrayed as black. During 18 years, during 18 years as a news and science editor at metropolitan dailies and national magazines, I have never seen a published photograph of a white crack baby. Mm-mm. And let me tell you, in my experience coming up as a kid, the white people did the hard drugs around my way. Black people around my way in my hood, they did the weed and whatnot, but the crackheads was the white folks. Because you could get the drug dealers, especially the young ones, they would have the dope fiend rentals. And if you don't know what a dope fiend rentals, that's when a white crackhead would let you use their car for some rocks. They'll let you post up in their crib for some rocks, okay? That's what I seen. I didn't really see, I seen black crackheads, but I saw majority white crackheads. Even when I was with my ex, I seen majority. He only served white crackheads. He didn't serve black folks. Um, I don't know. She might be on to something. The putative harms done to crack babies were first popularized in graphic detail in 1989 by Washington Post columnist Charles Caruthimer, who warned the inner city crack epidemic is now giving birth to the newest horror, a bio underclass, a generation of physically damaged cocaine babies whose biological inferiority is stamped at birth. These infants, he claimed, constitute a race of subhuman drones whose future is close to them from day one. Theirs will be a life of certain suffering, of defiant, a probable deviance, of permanent inferiority. The dead babies may be the lucky ones. By inner city Carutherum, I don't know how you say his stupid ass name. Carutherum Hey, Shonda girl. Thanks for the check-in, boo. Corruptorum. I'm gonna just call him Corruptorum because I don't know. but by inner city he meant black. Douglas Beshorov of American Enterprise Institute, who coined the phrase bio underclass, did not shy from the racial label. This is not stuff that Head Start can fix. This is permanent brain damage. Whether it is 5% or 15% of the Black community, it is there. Corruptorums, what's his first name? Charles, okay? Charles's column triggered a cascade of national headlines describing these infants as born addicted to crack and neurologically damaged to the point where they constituted a permanent army of inferiority, miniature golems who could never be human. USA Today, Taco, bewelled. Taco is getting on my nerves. Okay, USA Today, bewelled. Taco, stop. Um, USA Today, be well, crack babies born to a life of suffering in its piece, Crack Tolls Among Babies, a joyless view even of toys. Oh my God. The New York Times detailed how maternity wards around the country ring with high pitched cat cries of neurologically impaired crack babies. Oh, that reminds me of not Jason's lyric, but losing Isaiah, just like that movie. They hella pushed that. It was around the same damn time. You know what I'm saying? News accounts warned that as they grew larger and stronger, these children would become fearsome adversaries in the classroom and on the playground in 1989. 2 months after Charles's column, a Washington Post article warned of a time bomb in cocaine babies. The next year, the St. Louis Post Dispatch declared flatly, disaster in making, crack babies start to grow up. Wow. So, okay, in 1992, a San Diego Union Tribune headline shuttered drug babies invade schools. Oh my God. None of this had been demonstrated by research, and none of this was true. Although exposure to cocaine in the uterus can damage a fetus, a baby cannot be born addicted to cocaine, as children are sometimes born addicted to other narcotic drugs. Neither is there any difference between prenatal exposure to cocaine and to crack cocaine. Moreover, the diagnosis of the crack baby is based upon women's positive drug tests, not upon the baby's clinical picture. So it makes no distinction between mothers who smoke crack habitually and those who did so rarely. There is no such medical entity as a crack baby. Hold up. Mind blown. There's no such thing as a crack baby. You mean I grew up my whole life as a kid in the Just Say No program, thinking there was a such thing as crack babies, and it ain't no scientific proof that there's a such thing as a crack baby? You mean I've been in the Just Say No program since I was 6, and I'm just now learning as a grown ass woman that there's no such thing as a crack baby? Bitch, blow me up and blow me in the wind, honey. Because I am flabbergasted by that news. I can't believe there's no such thing as a crack baby. I am shocked. Let me see what's up right quick. Ashunda girl be coming through. Thank you so much. Girl, yes. She done cash at me some ducats. Hold on, let me shout you out. Shout out to you, girl. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I can't put emojis on here, can I? Such thing as a damn crack baby. Are you shocked like I'm shocked? Because I'm shocked. I thought crack babies were very real. I thought it was a real thing. I believe that shit. I can't believe there's no crack babies. That's fucking ill. Do you see how they lied to us? Do you see how they fucking lied to us? That's fucking crazy. Okay. Let's keep reading. A 1991 meta-analysis, a retrospective analysis of many research articles dealing with crack babies in the Journal of Teratology found serious methodological flaws in this research. Studies in questions lack control groups of non exposed babies for comparison, and they failed to differentiate cocaine's effects from those caused by prenatal exposure to other drugs, including tobacco and alcohol. The latter cause much more greater long term disability than cocaine does. The studies also failed to take into account pertinent environmental factors such as poor nutrition and housing conditions and the dearth of quality prenatal care. For more than 7 years, Chicago's National Association for Prenatal Addiction research studied a group of 300 children born exposed to crack. Researchers found that their IQ scores were the same as children who were not exposed to crack, but who lived in similar environments. A sociologist, Ernest Drucker, notes even cocaine use in high doses during pregnancy is not unequivocally linked to any fetal defect other than low birth weight and small size. The vast majority of infants born to drug using mothers are as healthy as any other infants born in poverty. Whoa, isn't that ill? I'm fucked up right now. I'm sorry. Like, I'm really fucked up. Like, I really can't believe that shit. There's really no crack babies for real. Why were such glaring research flaws ignored for so long? By Washington Post columnist Charles, who raised the journalistic hue and cry, is a graduate of Harvard Medical School. And I wonder that he did not consider these dramatic scientific shortcomings before suggesting that the children in question should not have been born. In 1989, the British medical journal, The Lancet, shows how papers reporting that crack that cocaine harmed babies behavior were more likely to be accepted for publication than those showing no harm, even when the latter described better designed studies. In 1992, a Journal of American Medical Association editorial condemned the rush to judgment about cocaine's long term effects on children, calling the evidence far too slim. But the harm has been done. The imaginary crack baby epidemic remains real in the minds of most Americans like me right now. Like me, whose mind is completely blown. In 2021, February the 4th, March the 4th, I learned 5 minutes ago that there's no such thing as crack babies. I feel like I need to text all my family members. Did you know there ain't no such thing as a crack baby? Like, did you know that? Because I didn't know that. I just learned that right now in this book from this lady who went to school for mad long. That's why the crackheads used to bring their babies home. I used to wonder how in the hell they let you keep having babies. I knew a lot of them growing up in the deck. Girl, like, and they be having dumb kids too. They would have dumb kids too. I ain't gonna lie, they really would. Be like, damn, she a whole crackhead. How she having hella kids? But Damn, I fucked up. And she said the imaginary crack baby epidemic remains real in the minds of most Americans, providing yet another exemplar of African American bad mothering. In 1989, the Los Angeles Times wrote how parents who can't say no are creating a generation of misery. The Washington Post told us for pregnant excuse me. The Washington Post told us for pregnant addict crack comes first. A New York Times headline showcased an awkward of sympathy and cost consciousness. Crack's tiniest costliest victims. Oh, that was the title of the article. Crack's tiniest, costliest victims. The myth of the crack baby also helped to fuel criminal prosecutions against pregnant drug abusers, three-quarters of which have been filed against women of color. Even private citizens promulgate both long and short term sterilization as the only solution. In 1997, a group called Crack, Children Requiring a Caring Community, papered inner city billboards with offers of $200 in cash for cocaine addicted men and women willing to undergo sterilization or submit to long-term physician mediated birth control, such as Norplant's thirsty ass. Always trying to squeeze somebody up with something. The organization refuses to share current ethnic data, but figures from this unguarded beginnings reveal that 60% of its first 158 recipients were Black or Hispanic. As of mid-January 2004, Crack had chapters in at least 16 cities and had paid over 1,000 clients to surrender their fertility. Crack or Project Prevention, as it is now known, Project Prevention, remember that, y'all, Project Prevention, as it is now known, specializes in crack abuse, not the prenatal use of more dangerous drugs or alcohol. So it claims to put children's health first. I'm sorry. So it claims to put children's health first, but its slogan suggests the depth of its disdain for addicted Black women. Don't let a pregnancy ruin your drug habit. Oh my God. Did you hear that backward ass shit? Don't let a pregnancy ruin your drug habit. This reproductive freedom of African Americans has been assailed by discouraging the birth of inferior Black progeny and by curtailing the fertility of Black mothers. Flawed eugenic judgments continue to shadow the lives of African Americans, from the putative crack babies who are now stigmatized teenagers to teen girls who are judged rather than counseled and protected from male predators. This was so sad. Chapter 8 was a beast. Chapter 8, I got a dog ear. That joint. That's got so much factual actuals. Shit I knew, shit I'm shocked to find out. How much pages did we read? Mad pages. Yo. I don't know. They said though in the motherfucking thing that when they compared it to other crackhead babies, that wasn't the case. I mean, so I don't know. That's something worth looking into. You know, it is definitely worth looking into because I'm completely shocked that they're saying that there's no such thing as crack babies. And maybe that was probably why it was so hyped up in the media. Just maybe like the war on drugs. How they was just, it was always the black men. They always showed this gangster thug ass nigga. Even though that was true, and we did take on some of that shit in a lot of ways. But the media did popularize that shit. They really did. Um, let's see what chapter 9 is about right quick. Radiation experiments on African Americans. If anybody knows how to do a good job of body snatching, they will really be serving their country. Dr. Willard Libby, Nobel Prize laureate on Operation Sunshine. Ooh, Operation Sunshine. Let me write that down too. So we got to look up the movie The Black Stork because of that weirdo doctor who was plotting on babies. Because if they was like retarded or slow or deformed or black, then they would let them die. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then Operation Sunshine. Operation Sunshine. Oh, and crack babies. Let's look into crack babies. That's something to look up. So then I could come back next week with some facts for that ass. Because I'm fucked up off the crack baby action. The Black Stork is about the doctor who was killing babies, and he was so ill with his shit that he was hyped. He was gassed up off of his own work because, like, wealthy, fancy folks, a fancy white folk, if their baby was all deformed, kind of like Dr. Kevorkian, just they compared his popularity to Dr. Kevorkian. You know how people who are old or have terminal illnesses, and Dr. Kevorkian assisted them with their deaths. He did that with like weird looking, deformed, slow, feeble-minded babies. He would either watch them die or assist in their death. And so he ended up making a movie because it became so he was so popular. They ended up making a movie about that fool. And yeah. What else did we learn in chapter 9, y'all? Oh, that's chapter 6. I want to go through because there's a lot of history in that one too. What else did we learn in chapter 8? There ain't no crack babies. I'm still fucked up. Um, what else? What else? Um, the forced sterilization. I get off so late. I always miss the first half. Bro, the first half was a hot mess, but I did review, I did give an update on Malaya and Velvet. So that's like the first 30 minutes in, where I'm talking about that. And then I had some feeling that came over me in real time. So when the feeling comes over me, when I be rambling and shit like that, that means I'm having some kind of like prediction or something. I don't know. I may be wrong. I may be right. But I'm telling you something. Something is not, something is something bad looming over them. It's just, it feels so, I'm finally in a light high vibration, so I don't want to go there, but I am going to say it's something dark looming over them. And it's so dark. It's not just Nature Boy's dark ways, but it's something it's just over them. It's just over them. And something's gonna happen. And it's gonna be hella bad. And them kids are either, if the family don't come through, them kids is gonna be displaced. The kids that are there, niggas is gonna go to jail. Something's about to pop off out there. I know it. I know it. I don't know how I know. I just know. And it's gonna be bad. Especially if and when Malaya dies. I don't want to wish it on her, but it's not looking so hot. And let me get a crumb. That's how much hope I got for her. Right there. Can you see it? I'm sorry. That's how much hope I got. I think it's over. But boom, boom, boom. They were tricking the women into getting sterilized. Um, one girl, I don't know if y'all was here for this, but she ended up having to go to jail because she whooped her kid with a extension cord and a belt, and she ended up going to jail. She was going to have to do like 6 or 7 years, and the judge said, "I'll give you 1 year and 3 years probation if you take the contraceptive Norplant." We talked about the history between um, what's that? Darwin's cousin, Francis. Francis, what's his damn name? I wrote it down. Francis Galton. Um, and how he's a eugenicist, and how the Americans and Germans kind of collab because they was on the same movement, and how and we talked about Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood. But what's ill is, so they said that that shit happened before. Did they say that shit happened before Nazi Germany and all of that? So yeah, it was. It happened before then. So that goes into what I was saying earlier. I just had it backwards because I thought it was after or during the same time. So that makes more sense. If they were doing all this shit that was going on before Nazi Germany, then America recruiting those scientists and doctors to America to come up with shit like the artichoke, Operation Artichoke, MK Ultra, and all those other missions that they created. I can't remember the one that I want to remember, but they created a lot of different operations with those scientists and those doctors because they're weirdos. And as we're learning from this book, they are absolutely positively 100% motherfucking weirdos. They like to experiment on us. We talked about how it went from in 1916 in the 1920s when Margaret Sanger made Planned Parenthood, and they put them in these hoods, and how they're still staples in our communities to this day. To this day, it's about to be 100 years. She's in the motherfucking game. She's over 100 years in the game, just knocking us off. You know, um, what are we and going into the 20s into the 40s, how they were secretly, we talked about Fannie Lou Hamer. We talked about the forced sterilization in North Carolina. I couldn't figure out that. But it's early on in the video. Um, and it's when you go on YouTube and look this up, it's way more examples. It's white folks was sterilized. We talking about black women here, but it's everybody got the business. Okay, if you wasn't up to par, everybody got the business. We got into the 90s as we just did, how they used drugs, and I know how they did the men. You know, they would give them these diseases and then be like, "Ew, you got whoopty scoop," and treat you like shit. All meanwhile, the whole time they setting you up. They the motherfuckers who did the shit. That's fucking crazy. Labeling our kids crack babies and shit. What else? Oh, how they over sexualize black women to promote this eugenicist project to white folks. What was that one example? They had this one commercial. What was his name again? Hazelden. They made a commercial um like this German dude, like this was in Germany, like, oh, he was all drunk, and this super salacious black woman seduced him, into fucking him. And like the only way he could fuck her is if he was drunk. And then the results of that, like one night stand, resulted in this unwanted baby. And this is why we should kill your baby. I mean, that's basically what they said in short. And then it said, what did it say? At the film's end, the tainted descendant of the Union is subjected to euthanasia with the approval of the moral bed Jesus who stands over the cradle. This ham-handed bit of eugenic propaganda buoyed popular sentiment towards eugenics. That's ill, right? Um, let's see, what else did we learn about? Um, I don't know. These motherfuckers is just ill. Oh, we talked about the Negro Project. She took us to different countries on this one. Um, they talk about how that one Virginian guy, what was his name? This is the part where they were they realized that the Germans was making more headway with their racism than we was. So they basically collabed. The Germans and Americans basically collabed because they was basically on the same eugenics hype. They was basically like, we want this pure white, our country pure white, and we ain't fucking with y'all. And that's when they had that one drop rule. If you have one inkling, one drop, one hint, one sniff, one sprinkle of nigga in you, you a nigga. And I think that's why when people's mixed and they look or appear black, I think that's where that comes from. That's why we like, oh, Mariah Carey, she black, Bruno Mars, he black. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why we do that, because it stems from our past. What else did we learn about? Of course, Margaret Sanger's old evil ass bitch. And I quoted, there was a something I highlighted. Okay. What I found out, I feel like I knew this, but I forgot. Programming, all goddamn day they programming. But I feel like I heard this before, but W.E.D. Du Bois, he teamed up with Margaret Sanger, and let me find that paragraph right quick. I'll read it to y'all. Okay. The NAACP founder W.E.D. Du Bois wrote, "The mass ignorant Negroes still breed carelessly and disastrously, so that the increase among Negroes, even more than increase among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit and least able to rear their children properly." Um, where is it? Duh, 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 duh. Later that year, Sanger devised the Negro Project, which was established for the benefit of colored people, specifically Black women who were being denied access to city health services. Um, and then we bring it on down. So she got that together. She started family planning centers, trying to find the best way of reducing the Black population by promoting the eugenics principles, and were also founded in Black areas such as Macon, Alabama, the site of the notorious syphilis study. Okay. Dubois also, here it is, he suggested approaching Black churches, declaring them open to intelligent propaganda of any sort, end the quote, and added that her organization, quote, other agencies ought to get their speakers before church congregations and their arguments in the Negro newspaper. So he was just like, this is how you could trick us. Come over here. Just do it right here. That's how you get us. Okay. So then Sanger took his advice and she wrote, quote, the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through a religious appeal. We do not want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it occurs to any of their more rebellious members. You're from Birmingham, Alabama, Greenbow, Alabama. My people's is from Maplesville. So is there anything you could share with us like about that? Like, is your like great grandparents or like great aunties like did they get forced sterilization? Like, is it is it common out there? Because they mention Macon, Alabama a whole lot. I know Maplesville is close to Montgomery. I never been to Birmingham, but I ain't gonna lie, girl. I was scared the whole time. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. And then we talked about, I'm gonna wait for your answer, but we talked about the IUDs, how they knew that this was a carcinogen, just like a lot of the stuff that we ingest, okay, myself included. But the IUD, the intrauterine devices, either permanently or temporarily fucked them up. And a lot of them ended up with various different cancers because of that type of contraceptive. Okay, no, nobody you know, but the mentality is definitely there. What you mean by that? Oh shit, it's 9 o'clock. Okay, I gotta try to get a walk in. Gotta get a walk in, and then I gotta get to bed. But easy girl, who is easy than a mug to knock your baby out of here? It's easy than a mug. It don't take nothing. The shit damn near free. They damn near paying your ass to do it. And speaking of which, in Baltimore, we also talked about how they were targeting girls between 13 and 19, between 13 and 19, um, with the depot and the IUD. And one parent was like, damn, the white kid got to call their parent before they get an aspirin. Meanwhile, they sticking whole contraceptives in my kid. Oh, I thought of something while I was saying that. That reminded me of something. But yeah, in Baltimore, that reminds me of the medicated. They sure do. They sure do. And I be so hyped when I work downtown. Like I was downtown with my nephew this weekend, and they be protesting in front of those free clinics all the time. All the time. They're always there. And I be so happy that they're there. But anyway, what was I gonna say? The IEDs. It's like the alphabet community with trying to pass that law. Remember how we talked about that yesterday? How they're trying to pass the law for where minors could get these surgeries that change their genders without parental consent. And they're just like they're doing, like they did in the 90s with Baltimore in this birth control. Because remember, in the bigger picture is population control, okay? But just like yesterday when we discussed them, they're trying to approve minors being able to get surgery and mutilate their genitals without parental consent. They're using the guise of this is for poverty-stricken children and uh, um, children with no access to no real help. And I do get to some extent, right, that some I'm getting off subject a little bit, but I'm gonna tap in to tap out. Some young people who are confused about their gender, right? They do end up being hoes and shit like that to try to get their money up to be who it is that they want to be. I know in some cases that's the case. Or they do, they end up being hoes, they end up doing porn, they end up doing shit like that. And I get it. They get exploited and shit like that. But it should be 18, period. .com. Period. .com. It should be 18. It should be 18. I think if you could go to war, then you should be able to have a drink. I think you should be 18 to drink, and I think you should be 18 to be considered an adult and make adult decisions. That's just what I think. Um, Alabama just made it illegal to do it for minors. They've just made it illegal. Okay, that's good. They can't change it here anymore. That's what's up. I know in them southern states, like it's scary for us, low key, but I do like the fact that they're not very progressive in a lot of ways because of shit like that. Like, like that law they passed in California talking about how a 14-year-old could be with a 24-year-old, that 10-year gap, as long as it's consensual and whatnot. That shit wouldn't fly in no place like Alabama or Kentucky or Tennessee, Mississippi, Georgia. That shit wouldn't fly. That shit would not fly. Okay? Grown shit is for grown people and they believe that. I love that. I love that. I do. That's why I do fucks with the South in some ways. Um, we learned about the Mississippi appendectomy, which was so common to sterilize you. I mean, that's just so ill. Okay, ever, never. But I just find it so ill how they're just so comfortable, even to this day. That's another reason why I gave my TV away. I gave my TV away about 4, maybe 5 years ago now. 5 years ago now, I gave my TV away because it's 2021 now. So about 5 years ago. And I felt like people were way too comfortable with seeing dead bodies on TV, dead black bodies. I was just tired of it being pushed in my face. You know what I'm saying? I was just really tired of that. Like it's just, and at that time, like between 2014, 2015 to 16, it was just back to back, back to back, back to back. We even had in 2020, we had a stream of that back to back to back black murders. And the thing that's so ill is like if a white dude kill his whole family, they don't got that on repeat 24/7 on every motherfucking channel. It's like probably with that crazy white lady that be trying to save the kids and shit. They might do it on that one channel. But when it's our shit, I feel like they're really comfortable with seeing us being murdered over and over again. And I just couldn't. Control. I had to control what the fuck I was being fed, what my eye gates and my ear gates consumed. You know what I'm saying? I had to control that. You know what I'm saying? Because it felt a little out of control. So I was like, fuck this demon box. It's gone. And I'm gonna start controlling the narrative and the spirit in my house. You know what I'm saying? I'm not just gonna let this TV programming, hence the word programming, uh uh have me any old kind of way. And I'm gonna be selective on what channels I tune into. You feel me? Um, I think that's it. I think I kind of went backwards and then went back to the beginning and came back forward. And y'all came in at the tail end of the chapter. We talked about the depot. We talked about Norplant and they thirsty motherfucking asses. What else? Oh yeah, Norplant, they made an offer with the judge. That kind of reminds me of, how they be paying the judges off to do certain shit. I wonder, it just makes me wonder, like, how long or who and how, like, if they, like, if that one judge was doing that with that one lady, you know what I'm saying? Then there ain't no telling how many other ladies ended up being sterilized behind that shit because it was known to destroy people's fertility. I mean, women's fertility. And so where y'all came in is on the crack, baby. So next week, the same thing. Tuesday, we're gonna read The Coldest Winter Ever. Wednesdays and Thursdays, we get back into the medical apartheid. I'm gonna be Coming to America. Comes out on Friday, y'all. It comes out tomorrow. I am not gonna play y'all this time. I promise. I swear by the moon and the stars in the sky. Okay? Coming to America too. We need something cheerful out this bitch. Maybe we need to do a movie night. And I won't play y'all. It'll be at midnight. I mean it for real. I don't got no responsibilities. My weekend is finally to myself. No kids, no nephew, no nothing. The house already clean. I don't gotta do shit but stay cute and on mute. My nails is done. All I gotta do is go to the grocery and kick back with Taco and look this shit up that I wrote down today. That's it. So I think we're gonna do Coming to America. Are y'all gonna come with me? I hope y'all do. Um, I had a baby at 13. They gave me the depot without any consent. They just gave it to you. Did you have any side effects? Did you have any more babies after that? I just got you telling all your business, girl. You ain't gotta tell me. Just tell me to shut up. But girl, like the fuck, they just gave it to you. What your mom say? Oh, okay, okay, okay. Hey, my mama had problems too. Straight up. I'm not even gonna front. But damn man. This book is revealing some shit. Took 10 years to have another baby. To get the shit out your system. Because I'm sure it got some kind of metals in there. I'm sure of it. I'm gonna stay on here a little bit longer with y'all because we having a good conversation. I hope y'all slide through for the movie night. I ain't gonna play y'all, and if I do, at least I'll let y'all know. But that's it. If I do play y'all, threw me into early menopause. Oh my god! So what do you do? Do you take some kind of herbs to try to keep your hormones young or something like that? Girl, hit me up on my Instagram. You ain't got to tell the world. You know what I'm saying? No, no, no. Let If you feel comfortable with that, because I never believed in birth control. Because when I was 16, since we're sharing personal stuff, I don't want to leave you hanging telling shit on your own and you just feel like you in the dust. Um, I My best friend when we were 16, well, my sister now, we went to we was having sex and we didn't want to be teenage moms, you know what I'm saying? So we went to the clinic and I started reading in the magazine because they had at the time when we was 16, we had the patch. And do y'all remember the patch in the rain? Damn, that's why my sister got off the shit too. Cause she said she felt like a psycho. Um, but we went in there and we went to get the patch. Girl, my sister stayed on her period for like 2 months. And I was like, well, I'm gonna just see what happens to you. And then because I was reading the magazine and I'm reading all the little words in the back because I would see these commercials like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and talking about have you or somebody whoopie scoop. And that's before they just told us to our face they was killing us. That shit came on like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And people would be like, hell no, I didn't see that commercial. What the hell are you talking about? And it would be like one or two of us, me and Cat Williams in the world, talking about, man, you see that commercial? So I started reading all the little words or whatever, and it was saying like you could have a stroke, you could, ongoing bleeding, like all this terrible ass shit. And I was like, I don't think we should do this. I think we should use condoms. And she's like, well, I'm gonna get this and whoop de whoop. And I'm like, girl, okay, I'll just wait and see. Girl stayed on her period for like 2 whole months. I was like, God damn. And we were 16, you know what I'm saying? You didn't have a period the whole time. Oh my God, you gotta get that about you. You got to have a period. You got to have a period. You got to have it. Even if you have to induce that motherfucker, you got to have a period. You got to have a period. You got to get that about you. You know what I'm saying? Damn, man. Man, I bet you was on a mean cleanse. Um, so I was like, ooh, no, I'll just use these rubbers and become a pro with the rubbers. And didn't I? I did. So I mean, I just feel like condoms work. I just in my mind didn't feel like you need to control birth. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that's something that we're supposed to be doing for real. But I was getting my freak on real tough. And I feel like rubbers work. Or you got a mean pull out game. Let me get out of here, y'all. I'm getting sleepy and talking too much. But I'm just saying, um, watch um watch Sean Davy Wade's video about the update um on Malaya's health update so you could get all the details, okay? Just make sure you watch that. If you need all those details, I'm just going to give you predictions and what I think, okay? So y'all, I'm going to see y'all Saturday because if you watch it on your own, cool. If you just want to see the review and watch it with me, awesome. And that'll be great. So it'll be like either before or after midnight. I'm not doing a whole lot of cooking this week. I haven't been for a while because I'm really trying to get my weight down. So anyway, I'll see y'all on Saturday. We're gonna watch Coming to America, okay? Shonda, shout out to you. Thank you so much for the cash out. I appreciate you. You are awesome for that. And I'll see y'all soon. So peace, love, and hair grease and all that jazz. Please share if you care, share if you dare, especially if you're a Care Bear. And if you know somebody who could appreciate this content, please share it because I'm trying to get to 1,000, over 1,000. All right. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.